History is going to speak for itself. History is history. People will find out the truth. If it takes another 100 years, the truth will come out. And anyone that's done the kind of research or any of the professionals that have written books, know at this point what really happened at the back of that building. When the rules of engagement was being put together, I had a chance to go in and see a very good quality of the infrared video from the plane flying above Mount Carmel. And you see a couple of flashes, flashbangs, but more importantly, you see two shooters either side of the tank shooting into that building. And for years I wondered, why did the autopsy report show 15 of the members had bullet wounds to the center of the head and the center of their chest? Not conducive of suicide, it's more like a homicide. It's more like being shot. There was a mystery to me. I didn't even want to believe that my government would shoot people trying to exit that building when all they said that they wanted to do was save people and help people. And then I saw the infrared. 2 tanks, 2 shooters next to each tank. I think they counted something like 98 different fully automatic weapons fire going into the building over the course of those last few minutes. 98 gunshots. How can you save women and children if you're being shot as you're trying to exit the back of the building, folks? How does that work? So, again, it's the ultimate slap in the face for them to say that it was a suicide when we know there were shooters out there. I would like, just to say publicly, any of the people involved in that firefight, I would like to talk to you. I would like you to give me a call and tell me what really happened. Without judgment, without anything. I want someone to confront me and tell me why they were there and why they shot people trying to exit that building. What is their justification?
Thank you so much. It's backwards. All right. I want to thank Sheila Martin for her words and allowing us to rebuild this church for all the Davidians, and of course Judith Vincent, known as Texas Lil, who's just done a great job. And you know, so much of this effort was possible because of talk radio. I broadcast from commercial AM and FM stations. We also transmit on shortwave, but the internet was really the big thing. And Judith has written some wonderful articles. And if people would like to see some of the photos throughout the process of rebuilding the church, just some of them, they're out on 2 boards out here a little bit later after this dedication. You can go out and look at them, and it's just a small piece of the different levels of construction that we went through, and it was just wonderful. It's just so sad that he and others have been demonized. We're just hoping to reverse some of that, because if they can surround a group of people, murder them, and then the general population says, well, they got what was coming to them and they never met them or never had any idea what really happened, then it can happen to any of us. And I say, never again. No more Wacos in America.
Never again.
black uniforms, the helmets, all of it. And believe me, the next time Waco cranks up, if I can get there, we're not going to be building churches. People that don't even know Texans don't bluff. All right. I'm going to go ahead and, see, I'm flailing here. I get so angry. Knocking off the media's microphone. Maybe that's good. We know they're going to cut it up. No, that's all right. Some of you are good. It's that network news services with CBS, yes. ABC and Fox all at the CBS Broadcast Center doing all the work together, working. Don't hear a lot about that. Here in our controlled society, we're coming forward with the new media, just like the printing press and the Renaissance, and we're going to win. Victory is ours! All we have to do is take it on that, and can't stop it. Black oil, black relations serve with your leadership, as the leader of this new church. You're a wonderful man. God bless you, sir. And here are the keys.
I would just like to take a minute to thank you all for building our beautiful church and for allowing God to use you all in this work. I also want to apologize for acting foolishly sometimes and telling everybody I love them, but I really mean it in God's way. I've concentrated my life to Christ since I was in my 30s, and so far I think I've been faithful, not because I'm strong enough, but because He is my strength. And I don't think I can do anything without Him. He is my husband and my all. I know most of you have been so grateful in your effort and sacrifice, and I appreciate it very much. And especially from the bottom of my heart, I would like to thank Alex and Mike for being chief organizers of the work, George for being our jack of all trades, Scott for watching and keeping the place nice and watching over India the dog, and Paul for being so kind and trying to help me solve several problems and for providing a ride when I needed one. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. God bless Ophelia. One thing that Mike and Judy neglected to put into their figures when it came to the amount of money that has gone into this church, they were just talking about supplies. They did not figure in the thousands of hours donated by the various people that came and helped from weekend to weekend. And I appreciate everything that each one's done. Each one's done, the efforts that they've contributed. Love you, Clark. Glory to God. Amen.
Even now I still remember, and the feeling's still the same, and this pain inside of me goes on and on. Even now I have come so far, I wonder where you are, I wonder why it's still so hard without you. Even now, when I come shining through, I swear I think of you, and God
4 of her children and her husband. And that, of course, is dedicated to those that she lost. And Sheila, God bless you. You still have family and friends, and just we're trying to rectify some of what happened to you.
I love Mike Hansen Archives.
Well, you said it was painful to watch them destroying all your
Yes,
things.
because they were running the tanks over our cars.
Yeah,
It was psychological warfare.
Yeah.
yeah.
And everything. The toys, you know, the kids' toys,
Yeah.
all the
It was
motorcycles.
to make you think that you had no power at all.
Right? They did.
Or-
What did they do?
They mooned us.
Sick high school football game type of stuff that they did there. Totally immature.
There's always new federal lies that we are forced to counter here.
Texas talk radio personality Alex Jones has been crying murder and cover-up from day one of the Waco horror.
These are thugs who wanted to engage in terrorism against the American people. And I say their terrorism has failed, and this horrendous lie is starting to unravel.
The surviving Davidians say the same thing.
That's what they do for a job, is they lie.
When I tell what I tell, I'm telling the truth. And if people accept it, fine.
We just believe that God would not let the truth be hidden.
And Waco keeps burning.
Oh.
Are you there, sir?
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Yes, we can hear you. Go right ahead.
I was just going to make a statement. I truly believe that David Koresh was a Christian, and that he believed in the biblical concept of the Bible. I think he truly
Absolutely
preached whatever the Bible teaches. But this is just an example of what's going to happen to us Christians. We are going to be looked at as a sect of demonic beings or whatever, because we believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. And I think that that's why the Lord says, be prepared to suffer, because I think we're going to suffer a lot of this same thing that David Koresh and the people that live there at the camp, because we profess to be Christians and believe in Jesus Christ. So it's just something that they're going to show the people that if you do profess to be a Christian and you believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, that this is just an example of what's going to happen to those people that profess to be Christians. And that's just a comment that I wanted to make.
All righty, thank
well,
you, sir.
there is a one world order coming into being, and when they have the one world order fully, there is going to be a religion that everyone will be expected to go along with, and I'm sure it will not be biblical.
Hello?
Because they hate they go after the people that are studying the Bible.
Look, I know you came out and said that they did it all wrong. That's how it was planned, with the helicopters to shoot first, to create the crisis. All you guys would open fire while you're down the road crying. Now that's how this works. And they're building prisons everywhere across this country. We're going into a Nazi Germany type state, and you bet I'll get fired up and angry. It's time to stop whitewashing all this and waffling back and forth. You got to go all the way and expose what's been happening, because you know it's gearing up massively right now. And my family's been threatened the whole 9 yards just for this. And that's why all these people that have never stood up and really done something in their lives can't understand how real and hardcore this world is and what's happening. And now Reno's the head of domestic preparedness. They just fired Cohen, the Secretary of Defense, from the job last week. He's a puppet over the military now, and Reno runs our military? None of these people are going to talk about that. She's passed her test. This was a huge psychological warfare program, a huge experiment for you, the military, the police, the American people, the media. You're all being strung along, and now is the time for people to start rebelling against it. And that's why I get so angry. I realize you're not as bad as the other ones, and I know who you are. The point is, you got to come all the way out. They read the names of the BATF that died in there. I've said that this memorial's for them too, but it doesn't matter. Well, there were still misguided stormtroopers doing something unconstitutional.
Alex, on the 22nd hour of tape, the Waco Police Department, there was 5 agents killed.
Wow.
Who was the 5th agent?
Who was the 5th agent?
Who was the 5th agent killed? You know?
I'm sorry?
There were 5 agents killed on 28 February 93. Who was the 5th agent? Pardon? 5 agents.
He's got 4 stars there.
5 agents. No, I'm saying that on the 22nd hour of tape, Alex has the tape with him right now. You can cue it up and play it. The point is, I know you don't know. I'm asking you, why do you not know?
Hey, do you admit all the films, all the TV shows don't show the helicopters? Were there helicopters flying above that day that were sent from Fort Hood?
I will say this to you, the helicopters did not shoot first.
But there were helicopters.
No, they did not shoot first.
Who did shoot first?
You just said that. You said that.
Well, but you said that
they did shoot first. We know that.
They did shoot.
What about the women getting shot on top of the head?
There were people on the helicopters that did shoot. They did shoot.
Oh, they didn't have guns?
There were bullets.
Oh, they didn't have guns on the helicopters. Oh, now they don't have guns on the helicopters.
Well, there were bullet holes in the roof. And the fact is, there were gunshots that came from the helicopters and killed.
What about Lon Horiuchi? We know he shoots women in the head when they got babies in their arms.
I didn't come here to argue.
Thanks for coming.
Are you glad the church was built? Memorial Church.
I'm here to pay my respect for a lot of reasons.
Are you for the Memorial Church?
You all can do whatever you want.
Oh, okay. That's just a question. I'm not a Davidian, sir, but I don't want to live in a police state, and I'm standing against it. And this is peaceful. People are gearing up to defend their homes. They've seen what you guys are up to.
Not me. I'm not part of it.
Well, you talked about before Congress that they almost destroyed a really good agency.
It is a good agency.
Do you believe
it's good, really?
ATF is a good agency. Okay, let's review what happened to Vicki Weaver. Now, Vicki Weaver was not shot by an ATF agent.
Lon Horiuchi, FBI.
I cannot comment on you because I know.
Right, but the point is, we got dead Americans because the ATF.
Why did you guys shoot the dogs? Under testimony, the ATF admitted they shot the dogs first, the Malamutes. Why were the husky dogs shot? Why were the dogs shot?
Of course, you weren't really here when that happened.
Yeah, but I'm asking, you've been around it. Why did they shoot the dogs when they were
why did Sarabin and Chanel...
Hold on, did they shoot dogs?
Really did.
Under testimony.
You have to ask somebody else on that.
Oh, but you know they shot the dogs.
Let's ask him what he knows about.
Ambush at Waco in the line of duty didn't show up.
Sarabin,
Did you try to tell the ATF that ATF was coming in? I didn't try to tell. Yes, I did tell them that.
Who called and warned them?
Whoa, wait a minute. Last night there was a guy on Channel 11 in Dallas, CBS, that there's a now retired deputy that allegedly has been accused of tipping off the Davidians. But you're saying you went in the building and told them they were coming?
Well, that's not what he said.
No, you didn't.
Why were you crying out there on the side of the road?
You were there that day.
Out there on the road. We got video of you crying.
Could you tell us the conversation?
You knew they were going to murder him.
You and the ATF about David Koresh knowing? Oh, all that is public. You know, whatever the newspapers have said, and that's about it. Oh, I can tell you that I advised him that what was going on, and told him that we were coming. And we made a decision after that. And I'm not going to go into any more detail.
Is it videotape of you pulling up in your blazer? Looked like you're expressing a lot of regret that they were going in. Is that
Sure.
And you don't think they should have done it, right?
No, of course not. I mean, it wasn't the right thing to do at that time. Of course, I knew how everything was, and of course I was disturbed about it.
And when you were in Mount Carmel that morning, did it appear that everybody was gearing up for battle? When you were there that morning?
When I left, everything was possible. Once I left this compound, anything was possible.
Well, I mean, but they weren't scurrying around inside. Get ready, they're coming.
Not when I was here, no.
Okay. And so between that time, and what time was that? About 9?
I'm not going to answer any more questions. Like I said, I already said too much anyway. I just came here to
thanks for coming. I mean, I appreciate it.
That's it.
I really do. I mean,
I ain't come here to talk to your problems or anybody or argue with anybody. I know you all have your own beliefs, everybody has their own beliefs, and that's their right.
What's your belief?
Did the ATF get lied to? Was the ATF lied to?
What's your first name?
He's Robert.
Robert, mine, John Hamilton. But when you say you all, you're putting, and I've been in.
I'm saying anybody besides
you against us.
Anybody besides me.
Well,
I'm just saying all Americans have their own beliefs. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
They all believe in their own way, and that's no power to us.
You against us.
That to me is all everybody's getting right.
Right.
You know, and I don't judge anybody by that.
I'm assuming it's your right to be here, and you have a right to your opinion.
Why did they put this under the windows to keep people from coming out?
Right here, they have a question behind you, Robert.
He came by himself, so he didn't come
Why
out of
did
the
they put this under the windows to keep the children and people from coming out?
Can I ask you that question? Why did you come to the
He said he had memories. He had memories. He said.
Let Robert tell us.
Okay.
Actually, a lot of things happened here, and a lot of things happened to me. A lot of things have changed my life. Changed everything that I stood for, or where I was. This car, I mean, it'll be with me for the rest of my life.
Right here, Tom.
Do you feel
right here, Tom.
Get this ATF agents?
Here's a Davidian wants to talk to you.
I have my opinion on that. You know, I don't want to come up with anything here in front of everybody. Everybody has their own opinion on it. I have my own opinion, and that's what's still with me.
What is your first and last name, sir?
Robert Rodriguez, I met you at the trial when you came outside and you were crying, and I understand that you were very upset, and I appreciate that you tried to stop what was going on by alerting them to let them know that they already knew. But why was this put up under the windows to keep?
I have no idea what that is.
The agents.
I'm honest with you. I'm honest with you. I have no idea what that is.
The answer. Thank you very much. Sure. I wish we could have met under better circumstances.
Me too, sir.
We will meet again soon.
What is a good circumstance?
It's Alex Jones, ALEXJONES. Why do you want to get involved in this? Well, I don't have much faith in Judge Walter Smith in the wrongful death suit, and I just figured that a statement needed to be sent that the American people do not buy the propaganda that was pumped out by the federal government, who held the media back at, over 2 miles away. And it was just time for somebody to do something. More and more evidence was coming out of what really happened here, and I saw the continued denials by Janet Reno and the Justice Department and the FBI, and I said, it's time for America to stand up. We know what happened here was wrong. We sat back and allowed it to happen then, and it's just the right thing to do. I mean, it's just that simple. You can't allow a group of Americans to first be demonized and then murdered, and then even after they're dead, the demonization continues. And all of the innocent Branch Davidians that are languishing in prison right now after they were found not guilty of the major charges by the jury. It's mainly to focus attention on what happened here and put it in the real light that the American people do not buy the government line on this. We want some real answers. We want the government to rectify what they've done here, some reparations for the Branch Davidians. But again, I don't expect any reparations for the Branch Davidians. I don't expect that they'll get satisfaction in this civil suit, the wrongful death suit. So the people of Central Texas and America had to stand up and say, this is wrong.
By building a church?
We're building a memorial church for all those that died. There's no reason to have this type of activity going on here in America. This is something I would expect to see in Russia or China or Nazi Germany, not in the USA.
How does it make you feel to see this now going up, nearing completion?
I knew we could do it. I know there's a great volunteer spirit in America. Americans are good people, black people, white people, it doesn't matter. We all need to come together for a better country and have real communities that are based on understanding and tolerance. And I think the government has shown their incredible intolerance here when they're the ones that are constantly trying to preach tolerance. I see them doing the exact opposite.
Thank you.
Thanks. You want Mike Hansen? He's the volunteer coordinator.
I think we're
good
here right now. Five is the gentleman that's like.
I want to congratulate you. Well, thank you, sir.
Tell me what you think about the new church.
I think it's beautiful. I'm so excited about it. I can't wait until I sit there. in it, to have a worship in there.
Tell me what we're doing over here.
We just cleaning up for the memorial, April 19th.
Tell me what you think about Mount Carmel. What kind of place it is and how you like it. The Mount Carmel. What's your feelings about Mount Carmel?
I don't know what to say.
Well, what do you think about Mount Carmel? My voice won't be on here, so you just... Mount Carmel, what do you think about Mount Carmel? Is it a special place?
Mount Carmel is a special place for me. That's where I lost my only daughter and her kids. I lost 6 persons, and that they were my closest family.
To the establishment, we have this to say to you.
There are problems in our country, yes, we live in troubled times. There are far too many criminals and far too many crimes. I'm locking every window and I'm bolting every door. The tool I use in self-defense will even up the score. You can rant, you can rave, you can make your demands, and you can take my gun from my cold dead hands. There are global corporations, they have billions that they pay to the greedy politicians who make sure things go their way. They tax us into poverty and we live from day to day. To them we're useless eaters, we don't get to have a say. You want to trash this Constitution, is that what's in your plan? You can take my gun from my cold dead hand. In every case through history, when genocide was planned, the firearms were gathered up and the opposition banned. The tyrants made distractions and the people looked away. And by the time they realized they couldn't get away, the smiling face on my TV says we should all join hands and help create this vision of a new world order plan. We'll downsize our defenses, give our bases all away to a UN global peace force, and we'll do just what they say. Take your globalist agenda and your new world order plans, and you can take my gun from my cold dead hands.
We're coming out here to help keep the memory alive of the butchery, the murder. Because Bill Clinton was insecure and wanted to flex his muscles, and the BATF wanted more funding. They wanted to raise the American people's consciousness about cults and out-of-control organizations of this nature. So they surrounded the place, opened fire with helicopters, and then 51 days later set it on fire, sent hit teams inside, and murdered the people. Those that tried to escape were machine gunned from outside. Only a couple people got out alive, and that's because they came out the front where they had cameras.
This is Steve Lane with the Freedom Report. We're here at the what used to be the Mount Carmel, or I guess it still is Mount Carmel, but where the facilities used to be here in Waco, and we're standing here with Catherine Madison, who's going to give us a tour of the site. This is all new to me. I've never been here before, never studied the site in any detail, and I'm looking forward to Miss Catherine showing us around.
Well, this road goes on a curve, and ahead of us is the curve, and the house is started right where that second telephone pole is, and extended down the road, and there were about 15 houses here at one time. To your left down here, you're going to see all the trees that were planted for the people who died in the fire, and each one has a marker on it telling the name of one of the people.
Is this an actual gravesite or just a memorial?
No, it's just a memorial. They are buried in other places.
I see.
To your right, down in front of us, way down there, that is the bus that we had. Originally, we used to all be able to get in there and go where we wanted to go as a group.
It looks like it's been burned.
I don't know when it was burned. It was perfectly all right when we left. And there has been all kinds, of course, the different tanks went to the front of it. When you look at it, you'll see that that it's been caved in. But the rest of it was in good shape.
And you actually were in the house during the initial attack, is that correct?
Oh, yes, I was there.
And how long were you there?
I was there till the attack was over. They called a truce so that they could have pick up their men that had been hurt and take their others.
You're speaking of the ATF?
ATF. And when it came time for us to pick up our people, they wouldn't allow us to do it.
Next, we have a couple of Kansas City's finest members of the SWAT team. This one here is quite a specimen. I tell you, in all my years involved with SWAT, I've never seen a gentleman like this that I've learned so much from in just the short time I've been around him. It's just awesome is about the only word to describe him.
Honed to a fine edge, honed to kill.
That's right. He just Rambo. He's just like Rambo out here himself.
Why April 19th? Why was April 19th so significant that the FBI felt compelled to take the actions that they took? There's never been a good answer for that. Jeff Jamar in the congressional hearings stated categorically that the reason why April 19th was picked was because the weather was good. Well, if you're putting gas into a building, having a high-velocity wind operative that can dissipate the gas doesn't mean that the weather was good. It means that it was bad. So what did he mean the weather was good? Was it good for a fire? Yeah. It was very conducive for an arson fire, but it wasn't very good for inserting gas that day. So what did Jeff Jamar mean? No one asked him that question. Who were the people at the back of the building shooting at the Branch Davidians on April the 19th? What was involved with the explosion on the top of the bunker during the course of the fire? How was the evidence handled or mishandled in the following investigation? Questions like that. So we get to deal with those. I think what went on here and the fact that it wasn't documented by the media the way it should have been probably has something to do with why you have a TV show and a radio show. You're not exactly mainline, but on the other hand, the birth of that type of communications is a good thing because it gives the mainline media something to think about next time they want to kowtow to the people of the Justice Department for fear of losing news sources. In terms of, do I think that, do I have any idea why the media isn't doing their job? I don't know. You have to go ask them. That's what you ought to be doing right now, is asking these guys why they haven't done their job relative to that.
Okay, let's go ask them. Well, they're just errand boys. They're just out getting the footage. It gets cut up back home.
Yeah, and what you have to do is go and find the editors.
I've done it.
And put them on camera and ask them, why is it you haven't run these stories?
Let's go ask. Yes, sir. Thanks a lot. Okay, thank you. I'm serious. Have you seen Waco Rules of Engagement?
Yes, I have.
You have? So you have seen the inventor, the man that holds 3 of the 4 patents on flare technology, telling you that those are sniper points firing automatic weapons. What do you think about that?
I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was a different perspective than I had heard before. I don't know that I will base any definite opinion on it, but I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a different perspective, and it taught me something I didn't know before.
Well, are you aware that our Secretary of Defense, William Cohen, just created 10 regional teams to work with local law enforcement? That is absolutely unconstitutional, and they're doing anti-terrorism training all around the country. Are you aware that General Benton Parton, ex-head of Air Force Weapons Development, says that Oklahoma City was done with pinpoint strikes inside the building?
No, I wasn't aware about that.
Exactly what news service are you with?
Channel 10 here in town.
Here in Waco? If you want, I will send y'all footage from CNN the day of the bombing where they were removing unexploded bombs from the girders inside Oklahoma.
I've worked on the McVeigh trial out in Denver. I pretty much know, as much.
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
I have to speak now. Let's go.
He's been upset about
Mike, come on.
Like this. There's been documented evidence as far as FBI snipers firing on people running out of the back of the church there at Waco. That was documented from a FLIR tape, which stands for Forward Looking Infrared Radar, by the gentleman who invented FLIR technology. He reviewed that tape and said that those were FBI snipers firing at many of the people that were trying to escape from the burning church there at Waco. And we have seen no mainstream news reports on that. That was in a documentary that was put out that actually got nominated for an Academy Award. Have you ever spoken in the newsroom about things like that, or talked about reporting anything like that?
Sorry, I can't answer any questions.
If you heard about stuff like that, do you think you might be interested in possibly looking into doing stories on things like that?
I'd suggest you call my news director.
Okay, what's his name so I can talk to him?
Waco, there is footage from the government that is released on Waco Rules of Engagement and in the Davidian's trial in San Antonio with feds shooting men with... All right, here we are. Here we are knocking on the controlled media window.
It's only 6:45.
It's only 6:45. We have some questions for the media.
Use your bullhorn.
We have some questions about the mainstream media and about Chiapas and the huge war that's going on down there. We have some questions about Waco and Waco Rules of Engagement. Why haven't you talked about it, media? We have some serious questions. There's footage of the feds shooting people with their own cameras. There's footage of this. We need you to answer these questions. It's not a joke. This isn't a publicity stunt. We need answers. We need answers. There's a huge war in southern Mexico. There's a huge war in southern Mexico. Sir, there's a huge... Sir, there's a huge war in southern Mexico. Don't you care? It's been going on for 3 years. Don't you care? Is it funny?
We got what we needed. That's what we needed.
Hey, we're leaving. We're leaving. You can call him. We're going out here. Oh, look, he smugly sits there and makes a face. It's not funny. It's not funny at all, slave master. That's what we get for asking KI questions, for asking KI why they won't report on what's happening in southern Mexico, why they won't report on the film of the murders at Waco. They refuse to report on the facts. Where is the free press in this country? We demand answers. We demand answers now. Dividing black against white against black, woman against man, child against parents. Why do you allow this? Why do you allow yourselves to be manipulated and controlled? It is very saddening and it is wrong, but it's something that we as Americans have got to stand up to. All we asked KI to do was report the facts. We refuse to be part of your lies. We refuse to submit to your lies, and we're going to continue to stand up. We don't care about the fear. We don't care about the IRS and FinCEN and the Delta Force and all the SWAT teams coming under federal control. Because today, Austin told the Delta Force that they weren't welcome in this city. San Antonio threw them out 3 weeks ago. Texas has stood up. Texas has spoken and saying we were a bunch of idiots. You weren't concerned with Waco Rules of Engagement, which conclusively shows the Fed shooting men, women, and children, the massive war that's going on in southern Mexico, the scorched earth policy that's now documented. You're not concerned with the Delta Force being thrown out of town and the IRS raping innocent citizens, or you put on some kind of whitewash. We know, media, we know. We don't want to hear baking cakes and all that. Yeah, we don't want to hear about baking cakes or how to plant tomatoes or how to mow your lawn or how to tattle on your neighbor with water waster hotlines. We don't want to hear about how we can thumb scan to buy and sell and retina scan and be good little slaves. We don't want to hear your government lying, cowards. We know you're not even part of the system. You're just the little cowards, the pretty faces and the minds that paint the picture that the establishment wants. We are not going to stop exposing you. Stop telling us about baking cakes.
Well, my name is Annetta Richards, and I am a survivor of the Waco atrocity.
Well, one thing I know is that God is the judge of everything. He sees all the things. And if there are to be any indictments, it'll be as God would choose it. We have nothing against the people. We're saddened by all that happened. We hate the fact that they went through such a torture. Feelings all through that morning, wondering what's going to happen, the CS gas. These things become very apparent to us on April 19th. During the year, we try not to cry so much or remember smiles, but on the day of the 19th, we remember that fire so much more, and we can feel that pain so much greater. We feel that they must have ran through the way they said so many people were in so many different places, all clumped together. It was a horrible, horrible thing. They didn't know how to deal with it, and all we know is they were in a lot of pain. Our pain is nothing compared to what they went through.
Well, it's to me, it's the only time that I have to really get together with the survivors and talk about things, because I live far away and everyone's kind of scattered. So really, it's kind of like a family reunion at the same time being a memorial. When you come out here and you see the destruction, and you just kind of remember everything that happened. And with the infrared, with the explosion and the people, the flashes that we have on infrared, absolutely prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that people were killed. Law of averages would state that if there's 9 survivors, and I'm one of the 9, the people that survived came out of the side and the front of the building. The majority of the people were at the back of the building, in the cafeteria area. Law of averages would state that, if 9 people survive from a fire, that people are going to come out of the back where the majority of the people are. And the fact that no one survived that came out of the back always escaped me. I could never understand why. I had a theory, but I could never prove it. This infrared video proves that beyond a shadow of a doubt, that people were killed. And now it's time to get the people that are in jail out of jail, and it's time to get these shooters. Let's get their names, let's find out who they were working for, who was responsible, and get these people put away. We want a constitutional government. We're not radicals in the sense that we want a revolution. No, we just want our government back.
There is a massive consolidation of local police departments under federal control, the multi-jurisdictional task force and the JTF-6, which is based at Fort Bliss, Texas. They wear black ski masks. They train in military tactics. And they are the big gun and the long arm of the IRS and the criminal system that is running this nation. Make no mistake, the murders of these people and these children was about one thing and one thing only. It was about terrorism against the American people. It was about testing and pushing the limits to see if the government could surround a group, if they could kill those people and burn it to the ground. Waco Rules of Engagement shows the automatic weapons fire as men and women tried to exit the back of the building. That's where most of the bodies were found, right in the edge. Hit squads, military black ops, the same ones that destroyed Oklahoma City, just like Hitler burnt the Reichstag in 1933. I mean, where is our country when ex-attorney generals of the United States of America are here telling you that Reno and the rest of them and the Republicans and the Democrats are all the same people?
Which show that we carry over our militarism right into our churches to assault church people.
Well, yes, sir. My first question is, or my first statement about this is you're absolutely right. I mean, we have military training, people in black ski masks, with the MJTF, the multi-jurisdictional task forces, training directly with our local law enforcement in Austin, Texas, where I'm from, and I found out that this is a nationwide movement.
Sure it is, and the sad part is, the cop is supposed to be our friend on the beat. He's the one that gets the cat out of the tree and takes care of the lost kids and stops someone from burglarizing a home and stuff like that. Instead, they love to be SWAT team.
It's the thin blue line. They're teaching them. In fact, I've heard police.
Pretty thick blue line right now.
I've done interviews at protests and things, and the police walk up and say, "Stay behind the demarcation line," and you'll hear them talking. Watch the civilians. They're using military terminology. Is this dangerous?
Of course, it's dangerous. A paramilitary concept of police is a police state. And our Constitution was created to prevent a police state.
But the thing that I don't think that the American public realizes is that this military training is going on. What are some things that we can do to get this reversed, hopefully?
Well, I think we have to resist at every level. If you don't work at the national level, you can't expect the local level. I mean, after all, we're providing a lot of federal funds for the local level, and they love it.
And that brings control.
It brings control. It brings technology. It brings things they don't need,
Infrared.
Who needed tanks out here? Yeah, you've got everything that billions and billions of dollars of research and development to provide the military are now being diverted.
It's going into civilian control. Have you seen Waco Rules of Engagement?
Sure.
It's horrifying, isn't it?
It's horrifying. The whole story is even more horrifying.
Sir, I didn't actually see this last year, but I heard about it reported in some of the alternative press. Is it true that last year you spoke about how the Trilateral Commission is running the country?
Well, I've criticized the Trilateral Commission for many years, but I don't really think the Trilateral Commission is running the country. I think
CFR?
I think the same people are
Control it.
the same people that run the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, and the
Those
Trilateral.
are just front groups.
Sure. I mean, they're just
meeting houses.
They're organizations through which they implement their power, and it's an international group that maintains power through the multinational corporations and the media and all the rest.
Yes, sir. And wouldn't you say that now what you have is corporate socialism for them and slavery for us?
Well, you've got corporate wealth for them. they don't.
It's called stealing.
It could be called stealing, although it's stealing on such a grand scale that you'd have to call it grand larceny, I think.
Yes, sir.
Catherine survived.
Yeah, I'm a survivor.
Put your other earphone back.
No, I can hear
Okay,
fine.
okay.
Yeah.
She survived the what is it we're calling you've named it now, the Holocaust?
Yes, I would say that because it's very much that. It was something that we did not expect. We did not know. See, everyone expected to come out after a few days, and twice they expected to come out. But if somebody went out the door, they'd tell them they did not want them outside. And then they put the Constantine wire around the one in the windows, under the windows and all
Yes,
around.
and we need, and Constantine wire is that, you might call it razor
Razor
wire.
sharp.
Razor wire.
I never knew what Constantine wire was until I went down to Mount Carmel and I saw it.
For
And I
yourself.
could not believe that anybody could ever get out with that around.
Well, if they use it
Tear
at
you
the
to
top of
pieces.
prisons and
Oh, sure.
correctional facilities because it's raw. And I know what it is. You're going to laugh when I tell you this, but my husband brought some home for me to look at. My husband's an architect, and what do we do it for prison?
Yeah.
You have to pick out, and you say, I want Constantine wire 321 in the puce color. Or it's like little bitty razors.
And
little
they're
bitty
very
razors.
close together.
Yeah. You got,
Very.
it's like a saw blade.
It's like a shaving, the one side shaver, only not as wide. It's
You're
wide.
right.
It's thin, and I'll tell you, if you touch it, you feel like you could cut yourself just touching it.
Oh, I just don't.
I
That's the
don't
thing
either.
about it. So you thought in a couple of days that this would be over.
Everybody was going to come out, and when I came out, I tried to bring things that I would use if we went to court. But
Such
I never
as?
had clothes, but
Right.
I never got them. I never got them out. The clothes I had on, I never received back. And so when I came out of jail, I had just the white outfit, and I was very fortunate to have a white outfit because they had sent me to Gatesville, who has white. Waco has orange. I'd have never been able to walk around with that orange on. Because
This morning I think, and it says it was about the Davidians. I pulled it off. Somebody could send it to me. Here we are.
Okay.
When I got
what
out
were
of
you put in jail for?
Oh, I was told by the judge that I was being charged with murder and conspiracy to murder and conspiracy. But
Okay.
you know what happened? There was about 4 o'clock one afternoon. They took me into this little room with all these men within, to hear what was going on. The very next day at the same time, they brought me up to the federal court. And he came out and he told me that they had dropped all charges. And they had to drop charges because, see, my right eye is not good enough to shoot with. I can see out of it, but I can't see well enough.
You couldn't sight a gun.
No, I could not. But I could use my left eye, but you cannot use a left eye on a right-handed gun.
Well, I can't really feature you ever shooting a gun, period. I'm sorry.
And Catherine Madison was one of the oldest survivors there, and I'm getting ready to show you an interview I did 20 years ago. I'm going to just show you the raw footage. I think it's about 30 minutes long, and she's going to tell her side of the story. I got to know Catherine Madison whenever she moved to Austin, Texas back in about the mid-90s. She moved in with Wyla and her family. And Wyla was associated with the Branch Davidians. We started having the Branch Davidians on our TV show. As you know, I was the producer for Jeff Davis at the time. Later on, Alex Jones and a bunch of other patriot type people. And we started having the Branch Davidians on, and boy, did I learn a lot about what happened in 1993 on that attack that happened there. I got to know her very good. I got to love her as a mother or a grandma. She was such a great lady. She would have been in her hundreds by now. I think she died in 2009. And this interview here, tells the story about what she's seen on February 28th, 1993, and what she went through.
Helicopters came
Why you
in.
start over again? Okay.
Do you want to see all this?
Yeah, that's fine, because this is the way it looks now.
The helicopters came in from that direction, and they were coming, and as they came in, David's room was here, like this is the building, his room's extended out on the south side, and that's what they were pointing at. They were pointing at his room, and they came in shooting in a V formation, and I'll tell you, they just kept it up. We're going to shoot the house over there, sir.
Okay.
We're going to shoot the
1
house.
second. Okay.
It won't be. It won't.
Okay, go ahead.
The house to the left. There's two houses there. The one to the left is where the sharpshooters were. And after things had gotten to the place where I was released from jail, and they had this all encircled with a 6-foot fence, so you couldn't come down this way. I walked around. I had to use the bathroom, and I knew those houses were available, so I asked if I could go in, and they said yes. So I went in and I walked all over that house, and I could see there. You can see 1, 2, 3 windows to the left of the door, and that's where they were sitting and shooting. That building had about 8 men that would come and go. Sometimes there'd be quite a few there. Sometimes they would be gone. And at the time, I was living here, and Wayne was he was with us. And I would go to Wayne and I would ask if, I said, what about the people that are over there? I said, man, they're always there. There's always somebody there. And he said, I'll find out who they are. And so he inquired. And when he found out, they told him that they were going to school over at GSTC. Well, their vehicles were exceptionally nice. And most of them looked pretty new. Trucks and the vehicles they had. And so when he told me that, we kind of laughed because we knew that if they had been going over to TSTC, they wouldn't have that type of vehicle, because that is not a school that has people with money. They would be going to another college, another place for their instruction. But anyway, they used to take our pictures, and that's where they did a lot of shooting from. And it was a type of bus that you'd find on the road for long distance, like your Greyhounds. And we used it quite a bit. That was still in good shape after the fire, although they had ramped the front of it. But this was destroyed after the fire. And I don't know who destroyed it, but somebody came in and fired it, and they tore it all to pieces, just like they ruined the other bus we had. See?
Oh, this camera can.
Can you see that?
Uh-huh.
See that there? That is razor wire. That is so sharp, you can hardly touch it. It will cut you. They had some that was bigger. It was about twice the width of this. That's what I was looking for. but I don't see it here. But they put the razor wire in front of the windows. You know, they said they wanted the people to come out, but they put the razor wire in front of the windows, and there was no way the people could come out of those windows, which they could have crawled out of at any time with that wire there. That would have ripped them to pieces. You have no concept of how sharp that is. I wish I could find the other. And I went into the barn, and I could see where they had set up snipers there. They also set up snipers in the ground where they dug into the ground to make it. Actually, it looked to me like it did when you saw pictures of a war, and men had dug in so that they could watch the enemy and shoot them. We had snipers all around us, and there were the two houses across the street. They were in one of the houses. They were set up there, so that when the 25 or 30 people came out of the back of the house, back of our home there, they were shot. And afterwards they took the... What was the vehicle they used to push him back into the fire? No, it was a tank. It was a tank. It had a... Many of the people came out the back way because they knew if they came out the front they'd be shot. And so they thought, well, if they came out the back way they would escape the fire. But because of the snipers that were all around, they were shot. And they were shot by experts. And I feel sorry. Not only for the people that they're going to use, but for the people that are using. Because I know what their end will be. And I realize that when David comes back, there'll be a great change. And I am waiting for that day. Because I happen to know many things in the scriptures that I cannot tell right now. He will tell it when he comes back. And he's coming back. You can bank on that.
Hello, folks. This is Mike Hansen here on Mike Hansen Archives on YouTube and here on my Facebook. And we're here at the 25th anniversary of the memorial service here in Waco, Texas. And we got Clive Doyle here. Can you tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on the 25th anniversary here?
It's
It's all right. Everybody knows you.
It's kind of hard. My daughter just died.
That's what I heard. And we didn't put it out on the internet because we were asked not to. This is the first time people out here on my...
a lot of them don't. A lot of them don't know yet.
That was your first daughter died at Mount Carmel, and this was your another daughter.
This is my oldest daughter. It's my youngest that died in the fire. And Karen was coming down, had her plane booked. She was coming down for the memorial, and ended up dying in a head-on collision. A drunk driver. People up in Pennsylvania saying that it was deliberate, it wasn't an accident. Tried to run a cop off the road first. I guess the cop avoided it. Tried to run down another woman and she avoided it. Karen was third in line. So they say she died instantly, which is... At least she didn't suffer too much. But Seems like every year there's a few more to go.
Yeah, it's just not many left. Clive, I'm so sorry for all the stuff that's happened to y'all, and hopefully it will get better. But you, like you always say, it's going to be better.
It'll get worse before it gets better.
Here you have the remains of the church known in the media as the compound. Now notice, they said they had to destroy it because of contamination of the ground. As usual, in Waco and in Oklahoma City, they destroy the federal crime scene. There you have the ATF flag flying below the Texas and United States flag, a battle scene, a military operation. And here you have a federal agent grimacing this young lady here. You see Clive Doyle, a man that I know is as gentle as a lamb, being led by the federal agent to his jail cell. Here you have the people that were killed by special military forces, black ops squads, that is, secret military squads that accompanied the feds. We're told also that some British special forces teams were inserted to kill all the witnesses because they couldn't have witnesses of what happened. And there, of course, you have the evidence before it was destroyed. The FBI and the BATF always bulldoze from Oklahoma City to the World Trade Center bombing after they've done their handiwork. This is Clive Doyle's daughter. Did not deserve to be burned up in the building and shot as they tried to exit. We're here with Clive Doyle, one of the surviving Branch Davidians. He came down a couple months ago, and we really appreciate you coming down to share the information, the knowledge of your run-in with the New World Order, what you'd call Antichrist forces, here in Waco, Texas. I appreciate you having everybody out here. What do you think about a Attorney General coming out here and speaking about what's happening in the police state?
Well, Ramsey Clark has been a great friend ever since he got onto our civil case, and he has spoken just about every year for the last 3 years. The fact that an Attorney General has the gumption to get up and talk the way he did, I think is a credit to his personality and his principles. I kind of like to see the day when Janet Reno would have enough gumption to come down here and say the same kind of things, but that may be down the road.
With respect to the use of military weapons, these pieces of equipment were unarmed, as I understand it, and were contracted. I mean, it was like a good rent-a-car.
A good rent-a-car? A tank going into a building?
I thought it was an interesting development that we had a FBI negotiator that was a negotiator during the siege that actually came out and...
Is he gone?
I'm not sure. But it's the first time we've had a government agent, or ex-government agent that was involved with the situation.
Did he apologize?
He did to me. I don't know that he did publicly in so many words.
What's his name?
Ferris Rookstool.
Oh, he's one of the guys on the phone, wasn't he?
FBI negotiator.
Where is Ferris? I don't see Ferris. I'd love to ask him about that.
We have live hand grenade building that we recovered as well. Of course, right out here in front was where the...
That didn't come out in the trial. You're some kind of provocateur. In fact, you're one of those FBI agents, aren't you?
Hey, we're in the middle of one of our interviews right now.
I don't personally. I don't give a damn.
Well, I don't give a damn about you either.
Oh, yeah, you're not going to do anything to me. These people are murderers. These people are murderers. I'm sick and tired of hearing your lies when you machine gunned a bunch of men, women, and children. You got a big problem, buddy. You sit over here. I'm not afraid of you guys. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I'm sick of it. You sit over here and you talk about how the children huddled in the corner and how the ammunition that they had is what killed them, all the rest of your garbage. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You don't stand up for the Constitution. You stand for zip, not a zero. You have no calm aplomb. It's false, my friend. And let me tell you, a lot of people are writing down your names. You can follow people around. You can harass people. You can back up your bankster buddies. But a revolution of peaceful information's coming, and when it comes time, you people are going to be brought to punishment. You understand? Just like Nuremberg. Just taking orders doesn't cut it, my friend. You understand me?
I think I've assessed you.
Yeah, oh, you've assessed me. Listen, you can sit there and say some kind of little joke. All your textbook garbage, my friend. I got people like General Parton, ex-head of Air Force Weapons Development. We know the federal government destroyed Oklahoma. It's proven. We know what you guys are engaged in, just like Hitler burnt the Reichstag. We know you brought Nazis over here through the rat line to set up our CIA after the OSS.
So you can't sit here. You can assess me all day. I want you to assess me. I've assessed you. A smiley face slime ball that sits here and soft pedals and tries to placate the media. Waco Rules of Engagement shows your agents machine gunning men, women, and children as they tried to exit. One of the inventors of flare technology worth hundreds of millions of dollars is on that documentary. He is of the establishment.
Didn't you hear what I said? Didn't you hear what I said?
If I had heard
No.
you, I would have to ask the question.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, but we don't need this type of placating, somebody coming in and saying, oh, I'm so sorry that we did this. We don't need that. We need indictments. Then you need to go and you need to call for indictments of Janet Reno. Okay. Are you calling for an indictment of Janet Reno?
No.
Herman Goering and drag. No. Are you? Oh, so you're not calling for Herman Goering and drag?
What about the people that ran the tanks through this place?
Yeah.
Over 4 years ago, I was interviewing former and current CIA officials about the Delta Force murdering people in Waco. They were extremely concerned. That's now been borne out in the Dallas Morning News and other publications. When are you finally going to come clean about the mass murder and using high-level special operations killers to kill Americans for publicity? Very important. Number one, about the Delta Force. Number two, Senator John Danforth, your special counsel. How can he be independent, as you and others have said, when he is appointed by you to investigate you? That's the questions. Thank you.
The crowd giggled and laughed, and Reno refused to answer the question. Makes you proud to be an American. Well, here you have it right here. We're told that the bunker was here where the children cowered, where they drove directly in with the tank and pumped in the CS gas in point-blank range, and then they pushed all the rubble over there. So the bunker was somewhere over in this area. This is just more a big brother, and we just went over there to one of the FBI negotiators who's now over here soft pedaling things.
And not calling for indictments.
And he's not calling for indictments of Reno, Herman Goering and drag. But you know, all these slaves are going to get what they asked for. The IRS bending people over all day and all night. It's a real pleasure to stand up to Big Brother and all his slimy cronies. Let's get out of here. Pretty sick. I mean, you know this better than I, to come attack children.
Oh, yeah. This didn't need to happen. It shouldn't have happened. But apparently they had an agenda.
Do you think that there will be more state-sponsored terrorisms like Waco?
I don't think it's over. My Bible tells me that this beast makes war on God's people and overcomes them and kills them up to a certain point. And I don't think you've seen the last of it.
So this is just the beginning?
It seems that way. That's what my Bible tells me.
You and others have talked about how the water tanks had holes in the top, and the only way the water tanks could have holes in the top was from the helicopters. Did you see helicopters firing?
I did not see the helicopters firing.
Did anyone see them?
Catherine saw them. Other people saw them. Marjorie Thomas, who's from England, who was badly burned. She said that her testimony, which she did a video deposition for the trial, but I don't think it ever played in its entirety. But in that deposition, she said that some of the girls were looking out the window on the north end of in the tower, and they were acting sort of agitated. So she walked over to look and see what they were looking at, and she looked out the window and she jerked her head back because this helicopter was so close to the glass. It scared her. I mean, it was so close. And as she jerked her head back, bullets came through and smashed the glass just where she'd been looking at it. So,
and this is right during the first assault?
Right, yeah, this is part of the initial shooting.
I told it to the grand jury. I was in the back of the building, and the 3 helicopters came in shooting. And what they were doing was peppering David's room. And so I know who shot the first shots. And I told them who shot the first shots. Now, by the time they get to the front of the building, see, I saw the 2 trailers come in. I was on the bottom floor, and I took the newspapers up to my room, threw them on the bed. I was going to lay down and read them. That's when I heard the helicopters. By the time they turned around to the front of the building and then turned to continue firing, then all hell broke loose there. When I went out into the corridor to leave, I left the 2nd of March with the tape that David made the 1st of March in the evening. When I walked out, There wasn't a window that had any glass in it. All the Venetian blinds were hanging on one side. Now I know there was nobody at those windows because all the women lived in those rooms and they were on the floor over the children to protect them. And they said they didn't shoot until they saw somebody in a window. All I have heard from you and from all the things that has been said by our wonderful government is lies. And it makes me furious to think that we had no enemies around us. None of our neighbors were our enemies. And yet the government feels that it's right for them to come in and start shooting at us. And when David opened that door to let them in and asked them not to use their guns because of the women and children, that's when they were shooting at him. That's when they started shooting in the front. And one of the men that I had worked with for years, and we traveled because of the things we were publishing, he was one that was shot. And when I tried to find out what the government said about his body, they tried to tell me that he had committed suicide, and his stomach was just as smooth as a baby's. Yet he had 4 or 5 bullets in it, because I talked with one of the men that held his hand while he was screaming. They came in not even caring about the people in their own country. They wouldn't use that gas on their worst enemy because it was against the law. So what law did you come in on? I haven't heard you say one thing that gave you the right to come in.
Well,
don't say it was for guns.
Yeah, it was.
It was not.
It was. That's
now
what
let
the
me
warrant,
tell you a little story.
That was what the warrant was for.
Let me tell you a little story about the guns. There's 2 stories on it. Henry was the one that gave us a license to work under him. And the reason we did that was because we had called everyone in from all over the United States and all over the world. Because David was giving us very deep studies, and you couldn't get it if you weren't there. Now, they had gone over to check him. And when they got there, they saw David Koresh, David Koresh, David Koresh, David Koresh. And they said, "Who is this?" And he got on the phone and called David. And David said, "Tell him to come here. Tell him to come here. I'll show him. I'll show him." And do you know what the answer your brothers told him in the BATF? "Oh, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do it like that. We don't want to do it like that." They knew. You see, there were no guns there except the ones that had been shipped in a box. No ammunition, nothing there, just the plain guns. And you know you can't do much with a gun unless it has a bullet in it. And they were packed away. Nobody was pulling them apart. And I don't think there was more than 2 or 3 guns there, because I know that Paul and his young son had taken everything we had to a gun show, because that's what we were doing at that time so we could survive without someone having to go to work. And believe me, the people that I lived with were not riffraff, and they weren't stupid. We had people that graduated from Harvard. We had people that came from, one of the girls that came from Canada that had worked for the United Nations as a linguist. She also had worked for the Canadian government for the schools where she laid out the policy for the children to follow. And most of them from England, with social workers, they all had fairly good positions. Nothing mattered except they wanted to kill us all.
Nobody wanted to kill you.
When the
Was for
trial
guns were found, ammunition was found.
there was no guns found.
Yes, there was. I'm sorry. There was. And your information about the helicopters and stuff like that, you can look at the raw footage on that, and you can see the helicopters, and none of them ever
I looked
got.
out the window
I know
and
what
saw
you're doing,
them.
and you're not telling the
And
truth.
so did Margie. So did Margie.
Well, first off, how long were you in prison?
I was in prison for 12 years, 7 months.
Okay. Well, on what charges?
The original charges were conspiracy to commit murder against federal agents, aiding and abetting murder of federal agents, carrying a weapon during a commission of a crime, conspiracy to manufacture automatic weapons, and aiding and abetting the manufacturing of automatic weapons.
Okay, now where were you on the first day of the attack on Waco?
I was actually 100 miles away. I was in Austin, Texas.
And did you ever go to the Mount Carmel facility during any of the 51 days?
No, I did not. When I came back from Austin that evening, the perimeter was already secured. They wouldn't allow me past the... They had a barrier there outside, probably 2 miles back from the property.
Okay, now how then, the main question then is, how do you go from being charged with all these conspiracies to kill federal agents and all this stuff when you're 100 miles away at a gun show in Austin, Texas? How does that?
Well, I mean, it's the way the law is. They say if you have knowledge of something that they're going to hold you as responsible as the person that pulls the trigger. But you got to remember, it was a pretty political trial. They needed their pound of flesh. There was a certain amount of survivors, younger people like myself at the time. I was in my early 30s. So they had to take and get their pound of flesh, and they wanted somebody to be responsible for what happened, and it just happened that they got this small group of people that survived, so and I was one of them.
So the bottom line is you spent 12 years in prison for these phony charges, and you weren't even on location at Mount Carmel during any of the 51 days.
No, I wasn't. I think the thing is, again, it was a political trial. They were trying to make somebody responsible for the tragedy. They didn't want to take responsibility for their actions, so they put these charges on. Well, there was 12 of us, and we fought for our innocence. We went through the judicial system. We hoped that there'd be justice served, and you saw the outcome. I guess there wasn't justice, but you know, we try to leave it in God's hands at this point and be thankful that we're here where we are now.
You have an incredible story, a tragedy. But thank you very much for this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. What do you think about how many people still in prison? We still got political prisoners.
At least 11.
11 Davidians that are still in prison at this time.
Well, yeah, about 11. Because one is coming out very soon.
We need to press for their release, don't you think?
I hope we can make it, because they have so much. They have made the amount that they owe so high that even if
$1.2 million.
Right, even if they come, they can't. They have to do the 40 years, from what I understand, and even if they do the 40 years. and they don't pay the money that the government says they owe, they're going to be charged so many years in jail for so much money.
And by
which
the
would
way,
be they'd be there forever.
By the way, they were found innocent
That's
in the conspiracy to murder a federal agent.
Oh yes, there was no conspiracy, and you know, there was no murder that they talked about. If you have the opportunity to look at some of the tapes that I've seen, you would realize that there was no murder. That some of them, they talk about friendly fire on some of the tapes. What's friendly fire?
They shot each other?
You can remember that first day when you sensed that they were gone, they weren't coming back. There was no Mount Carmel to go back to. There was nobody calling you on the phone. They were not alive anymore. And you found yourself wondering how you're going to live, how you're going to deal with it. But because God was always been there for you, you say, well, I can get through it. But thankfully years has passed that you can get through this. And as we were getting through the different things with the book, we knew that we went from the very beginning to the times when we had the husband and the children, and then into the life at Mount Carmel, and then you experience the fire and all these different things, and then there's just that hope that you are going to be able to go on each day and keep, trusting God, and hopefully we'll see them all again. But that's what the book is all about, the whole situation from how I first met the Seventh-day Adventists and Davidians, David, and all these different things, and this is what this book is about. And it has pictures also in the middle, pictures that I've drawn about the people and just different experiences. I wanted to remember them, some of the things and some of the people and some of the situations I had experienced while it was during the siege. And so I thought the best thing was to just draw some things. And I'd get up in the middle of the night. Sometimes I was drawing things and I'm going, how am I drawing these scenes that have been so painful to me?
Yeah, that would be good.
And I decided I don't have to make this look so good because it's supposed to look ugly,
Right.
I mean, the other one I did, it was a little darker, but the fact is they had no arms and no legs.
Right.
And this is not little pretty girls like this, 18-year-old girls.
Yeah.
They do not, this is not the way you want them to look. I realized every child looked different. Every child had came out of that fire, whether they were under a blanket and they were being protected by their mother. Each child looked different. Some children you could tell the clothes, and other children, they said the heads fell off in their hands.
Yeah.
So, but this is the majority of the people came out looking like this. And as a result, I think we should realize this is a horrible thing. My name is Cyrus. I was 8 years old when I died. I was burned alive at Mount Carmel, April 19th, 1993. This is on that picture of the Waco, the New Revelation, to show the bodies of the children just burned to a crisp. No recognition of it. This is how I used to look. He had blonde hair, blue eyes, freckles. He was a cute little guy, very smart, very intelligent. And he says, why didn't I get a chance to grow up? Why couldn't they have had a chance to come and see all this and to know that so many people cared?
Yeah.
It's enough that his dad would have died, but to think that he could have been alive to have seen all the things that the people were considering, the different things that happened. And we have one here is Anita, Sherry, and Michelle. This is the three girls who were burned at Mount Carmel, April 19th, 1993. We don't know what they look like, but we know that the understanding I have is the remains is what they came up with, a lot of these young children. These are three girls who were the best friends. They were 18 years old. They were a few months from being 19. They used to try to talk and to be with each other. Thank you. It's the same.
Is that good, Ed?
Oh, yeah.
Digging around in here.
We're out here, it's week 17, and I'm digging around out here in some of the rubble piles. We've been digging up household implements, knives, forks, scissors, batteries, and a lot of fragments from government grenades and tear gas rounds. We've also been finding a lot of different 50 cal rounds, 223 rounds from conventional firearms. Really, really interesting and historical. It's too bad the feds came out here and scraped away most of the topsoil and took the pieces of the storm shelter, the storage area inside where they killed the children with the shape charge, shipped it off to a landfill outside Waco and covered it up with concrete. We're trying to dig up what we can out here while we're constructing the new sanctuary. Very historical, and it's great to be a part of it.
Came out here, and we're just looking around. We're looking at that pile of rubble out in front by the driveway, and I was getting a cup of coffee, and he found it, and he said, this is the base of the round, and this is what's left of the propellant right here. And he said, that's flammable. And he really didn't say a whole lot about it to me, but he got on the website, and Tommy's website, and on the chat room, and told Tommy Cook a whole bunch of stuff about it. And Tommy's here. Maybe you can talk to him in a little bit, and he can tell you what Glenn had said.
Something right here, Ed.
Okay.
Grandma.
Yes, Grandma. She's doing better.
Kids playing just like it used to be, huh, Mal?
She remembers when her other children, the children she took care of every day, were babies.
Yes, ma'am.
She misses them very much.
I bet she does.
We all do. We all miss them. They've all been somebody who we used to see every day in the hallways and see their mothers taking care of them. And when you see this paper and in the movies and all these different things, you talk about how they died.
Yes, ma'am.
And they talk about how they had bottles clutching, all melted to them. It's a horrible thought.
Yes, ma'am.
It's something that you can't dwell on much at all.
No, ma'am.
Put yourself at a stop sign and say, okay, I've gone as far as I can go. I can't think too much more about this. Find something else to do.
Yeah, I don't think you had it finished.
No, I guess that was what it was.
Oh, okay.
You don't need them back?
But I wasn't sure whether I had any left or not because I went and bought them a little.
You got it?
No, for you.
No, are you cooking them yet?
I put some paint.
Yeah, this is Clive Doyle's mother, and us and that know these people, we call her Grandma Edna. Grandma Edna, do you have any opening statements or comments you'd like to make to the viewers of the program tonight?
Well, I'm just hoping that the people of America will wake up to know that they've got a government that's running this country that's out to destroy those that don't go along with them. And what at Waco is not the last you've seen of it. It's going to continue on till God comes down and finishes the work himself.
So I want to just, you ought to comment on that. I would agree with everything she said there, that there is a government in place now that is out to destroy anybody that's righteous.
Haven't they proved it?
Yeah. Well, that's what the scriptures teach.
That's right.
There are powers that want to do away with God's people. They want to persecute, make war on them, and unfortunately the scripture predicts that they will overcome and kill them for a period of time. until the judgment sits and God intervenes.
And then in the end we win, or the righteous people win.
It says that the kingdom will be given to the saints.
In fact, I heard you. My first introduction to you, Edna, was on a Day 51 video, and I think you were sitting there with either probably Woody Kendrick or one of these people. Maybe I've got it confused now, but somebody asked one of the Davidians about, do you think Jesus is coming soon? And you said,
in front of the courthouse after the trial was over in Cloud, and somebody was saying, do you think David will come back? Yeah, the sooner the better.
Well, actually,
and I'm still saying that. I'm asking God, please hurry up and send David back and put an end to all this terrible violence, evil that's ruling this world. And nobody seems inclined to want to stop it. That's the pity of it all. People are just sitting taking it. Who started the militia in this country? Bill Clinton. Because he sits in a position where he brought about a position where people are afraid, so they take up arms for self-defense. Why shouldn't they? Who wants somebody bashing in home and kicking things around and just stand to it? No way. Not home anyway.
Grandma, do you have any thoughts about this? We hear rumors about this new world order that Bush...
Sure, there's a new world order. The devil's going to bring one in, which is coming in, is almost in existence now, and God's got one which is far better, and that's the one I'm waiting for. I don't want anything to do with Satan and the people that let him use them.
I agree.
Ladies and gentlemen, excellent job. Things are proceeding well. We're going to get this thing done in the next couple of months. Again, I want to thank everybody out here today. For the folks that are standing around here in the front area, you'll have to move in a few minutes because we're going to go ahead and raise the first wall, ladies and gentlemen. All right, yeah! So all I have to say is death to the New World Order, long live the Constitution and the Republic, and we shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. Death to the New World Order. Long live the Constitution. We can, we must, and we will prevail. This is just one small symbol against the tyrannical elements of this government that are pushing themselves to the forefront of the world today, ladies and gentlemen. It's the right thing to do, and this is a big deal as we raise this first wall coming up here in just a few minutes. So again, God bless you, and this is very important what you've done. You're all part of history. It's good to let the shadier elements of this system understand that demonizing a group of people before you murder them using Army Special Operations Forces is not acceptable, at least not here in America. Maybe in Nazi Germany, but not here in America. We're Americans. We stand up against this type of tyranny. And to raise the American flag over the church after they burned it to the ground, that was another abhorrent action as they appropriated our sacred symbols for their own evil aims. Well, we're taking those symbols back, ladies and gentlemen. They're our symbols. They're America's symbols. God bless you all. Thank you.
Hi, folks. We're out here in Mount Carmel with David Koresh's brother. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm doing just great.
That's good. We at Trailer Park. What do you think about what we're doing out here?
I think it's great. I think it's positive.
It's a positive step?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, a lot of us, you know, they try to claim we're Koresh supporters or something, and we try to tell them we just think what happened out here was wrong, and we're trying to help right it. That's all. What do you think?
I agree totally with you. I think it's been a long time coming.
It has been a long time coming. We're certainly glad to see you out here.
I think this is just the beginning.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I do too, I'm afraid.
We found out that they had snipers in our dairy barn up at the back of the property from 7:30 in the morning. They were out here 2 hours before the truck ATF drove in the gate. We also had 3 helicopters involved in the initial raid, and I guess their purpose outside of shooting up our water supply and David's room, some of the back.
You're saying they opened fire. Now, now, from the different stories, basically, we get the idea that who fired first, the BATF or the helicopters?
Well, it depends where you were in the building. People at the back, that's the first they heard was the helicopters. Some of us up the front, we heard it at the front door. According to what some of the ATF said, of course I don't always trust their testimony, but the ones that got out of the first truck up here, when they testified in court, they said they heard it initially at the front door. And they assumed it was their guys taking care of the dogs.
So the BATF has claimed on the record that they fired first, but just to take out these dangerous dogs.
Well, they didn't say first, but that's where they heard it first, and that's what they said they assumed. Because
they assumed that
that's what it was.
That it was their guys taking out the dogs. Can you tell us about this vicious dog that had to be executed?
We had a female Malamute,
a husky,
kind of a husky, and she was chained to our flagpole, which is about right where that post is. She was chained to a fence that led up to the front door. She had 4 pups that were not quite a year old, about 8 or 9 months old. And then she had another litter in a kennel. And of course she's barking because they're shooting her pups.
Oh, they were shooting the puppies?
The older pups, yeah.
That's loving.
They said that they were threatened because they bared their teeth. So of course she's going ballistic, and so they shoot her.
So they shoot the mother because she got upset. I thought she was chained though.
She was chained to the flagpole, and they were all in a pen. They couldn't get out. But,
I'm just sleeping a little bit easier, Clive, knowing that these right-wing animals were taken out as soon as possible.
Oh yeah.
It's for our children's safety. Well, Clive, first raid that day. All the horrific behavior happens. So Delta Force was basically back there from the information we had. The APCs on the final day, people were trying to exit through the gymnasium area.
Over here where this concrete slab is, part of where the gymnasium was. But what they were doing was coming up between the gymnasium and the swimming pool. That's where they were shooting from, over in that driveway. Anybody coming out the back.
So basically anybody, and then they had Sierra 1 was over there, correct? Okay, what's Sierra 2, Sierra 3?
Well, I'm not real sure. They had snipers in that place. They had a tank over here at the shed outside the tent. And sandbags foxhole in the fence there. They'd also, what they did is they bulldozed all the dirt up into a big mound on the other side of the drive all the way down, so they could come pretty much all the way along without being seen.
So they had a berm created up in the trench system. Sounds loving. Well, we got a lot of people working hard. I'm in the midst of a huge allergy attack today. My brain's not working too well. We want to thank Clive Doyle for talking to us. He's one of the hardest workers out there getting this job done. And you got the Air Force Base right there, Jimmy.
Yes, sir. I've seen that.
Zoom in on that if you want. A little loving Air Force Base down there. We support our military. We don't still support them slaughtering American people.
That's Texas, whatever it is. School
training center, yeah, for the Air Force.
Supposed training center. It's also quite good for, shall we say, clandestine activity. Kind of like Mena, Arkansas.
Now, Bill Clinton, a couple months before he got elected, came and visited the power plant right over there. And that's confirmed by the Waco paper. So he overlooked the area and they assessed it. We have a lot of evidence that's come out now that they were planning this prosecution against the cults of America.
Were helicopters used in the second and final assault?
Well, they definitely had planes taking this infrared or this, flare tape. Some say there was a fixed wing, some say there was helicopter. They were buzzing the building throughout, with these jet-type helicopters, these black ones, throughout the 51 days.
Well, even though we see these black and dark green helicopters, the media tells us that they don't exist. Do they exist? Even though you have photographs in here of them, what would you say to the public out there?
I don't know where they get the idea they don't exist. I guess it's the same place they say that they never fly with the doors open, when you can see the footage see right through them.
It looks to me like some sort of, and I'm not even joking around, a surveillance helicopter, because you'll notice on the nose of the helicopter there's kind of a reflection of light. I don't know if you can see that on the video, and I could tell you from my stint in the military that's indicative of surveillance equipment, cameras. The light reflects off the multiple lenses that they have, and clearly that's some sort of military helicopter.
I'm getting it, Alex.
Again, there's no mistaking it. I refueled aircraft while I was in the Air Force. I saw helicopters and various aircraft on a daily basis, and again, that's indicative of the multiple lenses that are on surveillance equipment that they mount to the nose of various aircraft, from F-4s, different helicopters. There's standard surveillance cameras, also infrared, FLIR, they call it, forward-looking infrared radar. And there's just no doubt in my mind the glint, yeah, exactly, the glint off of the reflection, which I hope you caught on the video, is just there's no mistaking it. That's exactly where they put that surveillance equipment.
Now let's look at the militarization. There they are where the children were huddled, and now new evidence shows that they sent in a special ops team with special breathing apparatus to kill everyone inside there, and they placed a mine on top of the building. Here you can see them looking down through the hole. Here's more FBI provocateur agents there destroying evidence. And here you have the equivalent of MJTF FBI squads. These are who are training with your local law enforcement in their German-style 1993 Kevlar helmets. Here you have some of the other FBI teams that stole evidence from the Tarrant County Coroner's Examiner's Office, and that's in Waco Rules of Engagement, well documented. Here you have some more of the tough guy behavior. We can't show you the photographs of them exposing their genitalia to the children during the 30th day of the siege. They did quite a bit of that, but here's a real tough guy. He can fire into a building filled with men, women, and children while he wears body armor. My, is he tough. And of course, here is some more BATF. You know, they shot someone who was driving into the house that day as they came down the road, the first day that the conflagration of terror began. And here you have another tough guy with a automatic weapon, a HK, a deadly German fully automatic weapon. That is a ATF, U.S. government terrorist. And of course, here you have the Bradley fighting vehicle, a medium tank, and they also had Abrams, the premier frontline battle tank here for this group of citizens who had invited the BATF no less than twice to come out and inspect their firearms, and the government never found any illegal weapons. They got a false search warrant, they lied, they violated posse comitatus, it's totally unconstitutional. This is a police state. This was the first day of the standoff. This is where federal police came up, secret police came up and began firing into the front of the door. When David Koresh opened it, they killed several people when they opened fire and injured David Koresh as he held his hands up. They then called 911 repeatedly. This is all on the 911 tapes, and said we're being fired on. Helicopters surrounded the area and were firing into the structure through the roof. Here you have the structure before it was destroyed. Here you have the ATF firing as fast as they can down here, firing into the structure with absolute wanton abandonness. And then you have people who are in full body armor firing at men, women, and children who had committed no crime, and then you have them sitting here crying sorrowfully over a BATF agent that was shot. And we're sorry that happened, but when you wear a black ski mask and you come into somebody's home, well, I'll say what G. Gordon Liddy said, aim for the head. The BATF pulled up in cattle cars, fully exposed. If the Davidians were waiting to ambush them, like a lot of mainstream media, made-for-TV, television propaganda shows, propagandize the people, right here you have the structure. And the BATF came up, knocked on the door, and when Koresh raised his hands and said, stop, let's talk about this, we have women and children, they opened fire. This is on the FBI's own tapes, into the front of the structure. This is even the edited tapes. And the door that's disappeared, lawyers and people that went inside said that the bullets were going in from the outside. You can tell this for novices out there. When a bullet hits a metal door, it makes a small hole going in and a large hole going out. So this, again, government-sponsored terrorism in your country. Okay. There is Serenity C. Jones, April 19th, 1993, age 4, murdered by MJTF military police forces under Clinton's command. Oh, one more thing. If all I say is a lie, why is the government coming and imprisoned me? Because they don't want an investigation. They don't want me to bring out in some type of trial all the information. Our government is blowing up buildings and murdering churches. You know, there's a common thread in all of this, from Oklahoma City to the World Trade Center bombing to, of course, Waco. They always destroy the evidence and don't let locals in to document anything. What do they have to hide? If this was some murderous cult, as the TV shows told us, then what did they have to hide? Why do they always destroy the remains? This building was burnt to the ground, but they still bulldozed the entire foundation and pushed it up in a heap, in a monument to the wreckage of the police state. Welcome to the New World Order. We're standing at the entrance to the underground bus, the bunker that they had built because they believed in times of tribulation they would need something like this. Well, they ran over with the tanks and crushed the entrance so they couldn't get in
to their underground bunker. And as a result, the men, women, and children died. Also, one of the tanks drove inside the structure, and this is even admitted to by the FBI, and there was a inside area where they stored food and things that was concrete, and they thought that was the safest area because most of the structure was wood right over there. They drove directly in and pumped CS gas, a banned form of chemical weapon, point blank range into children's faces. They don't make gas masks that fit 2-, 3-, and 4-year-old children, my friends. This is incredible. No matter what propaganda you want to believe, those babies did not deserve to be murdered by the black ski mask thugs. We're here with Bonnie Haldeman, David Koresh's mother, and there's quite a crowd out here today to, I guess, lend support and try to keep the memories alive of people that did die just trying to live their lives. How do you feel 5 years after the tragedy?
Well, I feel pretty much like I did the same, the day it happened. The great loss and injustice of what was done here to American people in their home, their church, and their family.
I've seen you here today and talked to you. You seem like a really gentle, nice woman, and that makes me think even more so that all the stories we heard in the controlled media were lies about your son.
They were lies. They were lies. Because he was a kind, gentle person too. Loved people, and his main goal in life was to help, save people's souls, and he didn't like anybody to be unkind to anybody else.
And he also told the BATF to come on over 2 weeks before.
He did. He told them several times to come out. They were in the gun shop one day and found out that they were there asking about him, and he said, tell them to come on over.
And the sheriff knew him.
Sheriff Harwell knew him. And
the sheriff of this county said that he was a good guy and wasn't bothering anybody, and that this was a good community out here.
He had come out here many times, just in and talked to David, and Sheriff Harwell told me last year, he said, I'm sorry, Bonnie, what happened, if anything I can do for you.
Well, there you have it. Attorney generals, sheriffs here in Waco, the sheriff here in Waco, it just goes on and on. FBI crime lab chiefs.
We're here at the Boss Conference Town Hall meeting, and I'm joined by Mr. Lester Gibson, who is a county commissioner in McLennan County, which Waco is inside your county. And I had asked him the question off the air, and he's going to answer it now, if he was aware and what his comments would be, finding out that roughly 33% of the people that died in the church in Waco were black.
No, I'm aware of that particular figure, and I knew Martin, who was an attorney in that particular company.
We know Sheila, by the way. We're good friends with Sheila.
So I'm aware that there were a sufficient number of African Americans who perished in the fire.
And what were your feelings when, I got to tell you, I was pretty upset just not hearing any outrage either publicly or from public officials about what transpired there, because you can say what you will about the adults, but there were women and children that died there that were all innocent. Maybe some of the adults were guilty of something, but the children, every one of them was innocent. What was your reaction to the fact that there were no public officials, white or black, that came out and said, hey, wait a minute, tanks on babies? I mean, I'd be interested in hearing your response to that.
Number one, I mean, it was televised nationally. Everybody in the world saw what was going on. Everybody could formulate their own opinion. And that's something that was exposed, and the opinion itself, you understand, basically could have been forthcoming. Such as the opinion now that we got with President Clinton. It wasn't a spin that the media wanted to put on it, and therefore you got the spin, you understand, that they wanted the American public to see and perceive. Just that simple.
I'd be interested in getting you a videotape. I don't know if you're aware, there's a documentary out called Waco Rules of Engagement.
I'm aware of it.
Have you seen that FLIR footage?
The area is in my precinct, okay? I'm county commissioner precinct 2. The Elk area is in my precinct, so I'm aware of the footage. The film and stuff like that. But again, it's what the media put the spin on. You understand?
And who owns the media?
That's correct. So I don't control it.
Right.
I can't give the spin, but it's a fact that what happened happened.
I think it's important to know, and I'm glad you're here and listening to this, because we try. It's what the theme of what we saw in the town hall here was to educate. And what people do once they have that education, I can no longer control. But I do have some control over the fact that many people haven't been educated to many of the facts that we just spoke of. And I think as they do, when they learn, there's Harvard law graduates in there, I think a lot of people think, well, these are a bunch of crazies. But you mentioned knowing Mr. Martin. I mean, Harvard law graduate, for goodness sake. This is not a crazy, kooky person. And when we learn, I think as the black community particularly learns that 33% of those people that died were in fact black, I think suddenly they realize that that's a situation where it wasn't just a bunch of crazy white people. I mean, there was people of all races and ethnicities in there, and I like to educate people to that fact and let them make their own decisions and choices.
I mean, but that's a fact that it was a great number of women, a great number of children, of all ethnic groups. But in regards to your question about African American, you had a great number of African Americans who was in that. You had a great number who was released.
That's right. That's right. Well, listen, I appreciate your time,
Okay.
Mr. Lester Gibson, and your county commissioner in
That's
precinct
correct.
what?
Precinct 2.
Okay, folks, we're back here with Sheila Martin, and she is a Waco survivor. And I want to. How did you think the 24th anniversary went this year, Sheila?
Well, I thought it was very interesting having the pictures with the names. That made a big difference.
Oh, that was a great, great show you put on this year.
Helped you to see that these were real people, that they all had very pleasant faces. They were very young. It's one thing you recognize. And they all were from different places and different nationalities.
And y'all made it clear this year. I always thought that was a really good point. Why Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and all these people never took up for all the minority black people here that was here. Like 1/3 of the people were black here, right?
And the English
How come I
people.
never heard from Jesse Jackson?
No, because
But if you got one person beat up on the street out here, you got 2,000 people on the street protesting. We sure didn't have a lot of protests when y'all were being violated here. Y'all were your family was actually murdered, in my opinion.
Yes.
So, I just wanted to always show you every year. So, we get a little grayer every year.
Yes.
You stay the same.
Oh, you're
Sheila,
very kind.
you stay the same.
No, you're
For
kind.
24 years, you've looked the same. How do you stay so young?
I give God the glory. I give God glory for everything. I praise Him.
And let me just point back at the church here. I'm so glad that God had His hand on that church because a tornado hit it.
Yes.
You know that, right?
That's
what
right.
they're saying. And I would hate something to happen to that church because that church was
Yes.
a lot of work
Yes, it was.
for us to build it.
Yes,
And
it was.
you were there hammering too
Yes.
over the years. It took 7 months to build. We started that 17 years ago.
It's
September
unbelievable.
19th, 1999, and then we dedicated it to y'all 7 months later on April 19th of 2000, year 2000.
Yes.
That was 17 years ago. And now we're at 24 years.
Yes.
Next year is going to be 25.
Yes, sir.
I at least get to see you once a year.
Yes, that's right.
God bless you, Sheila.
Thank you.
And I saw your
forgotten
daughter. How old is your daughter now?
28.
Oh my God.
Yes.
God. And how old was your daughter when all this?
4.
4? All right. Well, God bless y'all. And let me just say something to y'all here. I hope y'all put a good story together and get the truth out here, what happened here at Mount Carmel, because the truth has not all came out yet, Sheila.
No,
you keep talking.
Okay.
You remember when you were on Extra? About 17 years ago or something? No, that's the first time they ever had any truth come out, and it was on one of those tablet shows, that Extra TV show,
Yes,
hard copy or whatever
Yes,
you were on. That
I
was good.
understand. Okay.
Hope y'all do the same. Bye.
Such a beautiful girl.
While Clive Doyle simmers, fellow Davidian Sheila Martin suffers. She lost her husband and 4 of her children in that Holocaust.
I call it murder. That's what I call it.
Okay, they're telling me to hurry up. Okay, are you there, caller?
Am I on?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay.
We got Catherine Madison. She's a Mount Carmel survivor.
Okay, I was wondering, why didn't everyone just walk out as soon as the federal agents arrived, the first day that there was any type of government agent or local agent or whatever? Why didn't people just walk out of the compound and just stand outside. If there was going to be some type of government murder on a bunch of people, then it would have been obvious when everybody was laying there dead.
I think it was very obvious to see what happened.
Well,
Now,
I mean, I just don't understand if everybody just decided,
Let me ask
we're going to be fighting against an army here. Why don't we just
let me
walk
ask
out
you a question.
and surrender and see what
She
they
wants
really
to ask-
want?
she wants to ask you a question,
I'll
sir.
ask you a question.
Okay.
You're in your home with your family, and all of a sudden somebody comes to your house and surrounds it and starts to fire at you. Are you going to come out? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of media there. There was times when I'm sure
Media-
that there was. Oh, well, I mean, I guess if I was in a place with 100 people or so, and a bunch of police drove up and told us to walk out and were shooting
They
in the
didn't
windows,
tell us.
They told us to walk
Sir,
out.
They didn't tell him. They started
They
shooting.
did not tell us to walk out.
She saw the
There was
helicopter
no knocking at the
Could you
door.
have thrown like white
There
flags
was
out
no
the windows?
search
Like,
warrant.
so that way any media
Sir?
covering the issue would have seen all these white flags and messages saying we surrender, or whatever.
Oh.
There was no attempt to just kind of say, hey, we really
Well,
want to leave.
Have you done any investigation at all on this, sir? Tell me the truth.
Okay, here's my second point. Okay, if that's the case where you couldn't leave and everything was like that, and there's all this evidence that you have that things were as bad as they were, then is there not an attorney who would take your case and you could sue the government?
We're
for the
doing
actions
that.
that have happened?
We are-
they're
Based on
doing
the
that.
evidence that
We're
you
trying
filed.
to, sir, we're trying to do that. Have you ever seen Constantine Wire?
Yes.
I didn't see it until just a very short time ago. They had that right up to the windows. They couldn't have gone out the windows. They couldn't have gone out the door. You couldn't get out of there. Now, they said they put it around to keep people, they didn't say whether going in or coming out, but you couldn't get in or out of that place.
Well, I'm not going to say that.
Ramsey Clark and the $1 billion lawsuit, sir. They are suing Ramsey Clark and the $1 billion lawsuit. That's what they got going on right now.
That's right.
Okay, well, I believe that if you're successful with that lawsuit, that everybody's eyes will be open to what really happened, and they will be
sir,
able to hear both sides.
Let
of
me
the
just
story.
say this before we go off.
I wish you luck with that suit.
Sir, let me just say this before we go off, that I felt the same way you did a year ago. And since I've been looking into this, I found out a lot of things that does not match up with what the government's saying. But anyway, go right ahead. We're going to try to get one more call in before I have to make the announcement. Hurry.
Catherine, thanks for being on tonight. All of us here in Austin appreciate it. I think the ATF ought to crack down on all the fraternity houses where all the real drugs and fornication is going on.
Okay.
While more information on the 51-day siege continues to surface, some Austinites packed up their tools today and headed north up I-35 towards Waco. Their mission is to build a church on the grounds of Mount Carmel. Lisa Hanna has the story.
There'll be 2 blue.
After just a week of planning, dozens of volunteers from across the state gathered at Mount Carmel to build a church. It's a project that was started by Austin radio talk show host Alex Jones.
We're going to build this church back. I've talked to surviving Branch Davidians, and they concur with my idea to have it a church and at the same time a memorial and a museum for what happened right here on this very ground in 1993.
It's called the Phoenix Project, a church that will rise from the ashes of the Branch Davidian compound.
I think it's important that we have a place to worship again after our church was destroyed.
Volunteers are doing all the work. Volunteers such as Austin contractor Mike Hansen.
We just think it's the right thing to do.
Jones says the 50 by 50 foot church is more than just a building. He says it's a symbol of what happened here more than 6 years ago. Jones calls it an attack on religious freedom.
Today's effort was organized by syndicated radio talk show host Alex Jones. He says rebuilding the church will be a statewide effort.
And so now a large group of people here in Austin, we're going to be met by others in Waco and Temple and surrounding areas in Central Texas, are all going to travel to Mount Carmel, the site of the fiery conflagration in 1993, to rebuild the church sanctuary area of the Mount Carmel complex.
And the church is expected to be completed in about 3 months.
We're just thankful to God that there are certain people in this country that still got a spirit of assistance and wanting to do, something to show their sympathy and their concern for what happened here, and we appreciate it.
Plans call for the new site to hold a new 30 by 40 foot white frame church. It's expected to be completed in 2 to 3 months.
Tonight's news, a scene of mass destruction becomes a foundation for a new beginning. Good evening, I'm Kim Barnes.
And I'm Phil Scott. Austin volunteers are rebuilding a chapel on the site of the Branch Davidian compound near Waco. The compound burned down in 1993 after a 51-day standoff between Davidians and federal agents. Davidian leader David Koresh and about 80 followers died. KV24's Joel Thomas reports on the new plans for the property.
I've known the Branch Davidians a long time, and I think they're good, God-fearing people. I think they were demonized.
Raise your hand if you need to have instructions.
Most are galvanized by the thought the federal government murdered the Davidians. They videotape deputies who've come to hurry them along. They don't trust law enforcement anymore, or the media. With donated materials and labor,
take exit number 339.
They receive directions and head to ground zero.
We're going to rebuild it.
Waco. At the Davidian compound, the work begins even as the convoy pulls in.
Still have the stadium seating in here.
Plans are for a modest chapel.
They're in the process of digging these holes right now. We anticipate at least 3 months for the construction process.
They build on the very site where America saw a shootout.
I think it's sad that a lot of people don't really care, what happened here.
Seeing the battered rubble here staggers even those who've studied the standoff. As they reflect on what happens, there's a sense even students of Waco don't know the entire message.
It's not the same. I want to live here, but I need a trailer to do it, and I don't have the money.
You would come back out here and live
You
like that?
bet I would in a wink.
Watson walks in a memorial grove, each withered tree planted for someone who died here. There is still a lonely vigil for David Koresh's return, a lonely feeling no one from outside of the compound can ever understand.
I'll tell you, when helicopters come after you, and you see them, and you hear them, and you know what they're doing, that's an entirely different story.
Even so, one of the workers who drove here from Austin says he feels like he's building a future tourist stop, a sort of Alamo for the Branch Davidians. But one of the Branch Davidians who is here tells me that's okay. After all, he says the only chapel they really need is in heaven. In Waco, Joel Thomas, KVU 24 News.
All right. Good morning, Mike.
Don't get me.
I got you already.
We told everybody to meet us over there in the chaos vans running around at Capitol Plaza. But we all want to go over there and sit in that parking lot.
I said McDonald's hundreds of times. Let me drive over there. I'll just drive.
Hi, Alex.
I'll bring him over here.
All right. The early people. He's with Channel 8. And he's with Channel 42.
We're at Capitol Plaza. That's Capitol Plaza. Well, as you can see, it's about 10 after 7. By 7:30, we'll probably have about twice as number of people. Good patriots standing up against this massive witch hunt that was conducted unsuccessfully, I might add, in 1993. What we're witnessing is a large group of Americans, Texans, here attempting to go to Waco.
I was told that right there. Hey, I'm being told not to film, and I wasn't doing it. What are you saying? Freedom of the press! Yeah. She came over here and said I couldn't film. I couldn't film.
She just wanted us to feel the love.
License plate number. I'm sorry, bud.
That's all right.
Here today. I'm sorry. It's just we're used to this. What you're seeing is a group of Texas Americans standing up against the police state, standing up against what happened to the Branch Davidians who were demonized back in 1993, the basic cover-up of the federal government. And we're now witnessing the media and many others finally realizing that we've all been lied to, we've all been conned. The Branch Davidians have never changed their story. They've always told the truth, and that's been borne out in the past 6 years. And so now a large group of people here in Austin, we're going to be met by others in Waco and Temple and surrounding areas in Central Texas, are all going to travel to Mount Carmel, the site of the fiery conflagration in 1993, to rebuild the church sanctuary area of the Mount Carmel complex.
What exactly happened there in 1993? If you could just give it to me, if you could analyze it for me.
What happened in 1993 was basically the BATF wanted to get their funding increased. They were out there with 4 cameras. They had a 100-man assault team that went in and basically opened fire first. They were going there wanting blood. They only had an arrest warrant for David Koresh, and they could have picked him up any time in town, but they didn't choose to do that. They sent in a 100-man assault force, and opened fire. Helicopter gunships came in, and this is something that really hasn't been told, but we have the video evidence of it actually happening. And then 51 days later, after psychological warfare and basic torture, and when people would try to leave, they would have flashbang grenades thrown at them. Now the Texas Ranger report shows this. They were basically contained. The Army Special Operations Delta Force was sent in with the FBI's hostage rescue teams, and from the internal Delta Force memos that have now been confirmed to be real via the Freedom of Information Act, it showed that they discussed in the memos violence of action, basic arrest situation, not a hostage situation. They went in there to basically, according to the Dallas Morning News, take them out. And in Special Forces terms, and most people know what take them out means, but that's a Special Forces term, it means kill them.
What exactly are you going to do today? What exactly, how much are you going to get done today?
We're going, well, yesterday we were out there and we surveyed the area. We put stakes in the ground. We're basically going to dig the foundation. We're going to pour the foundation, and that's the most important stage of any building project. Then in the next few weeks, we're going to move forward, start building the superstructure, and I would say within 2.5 to 3 months, you'll have a fully functional sanctuary there for the surviving Branch Davidians and for a monument to what happened in 1993. The police and the military all working in concert, attacking any group of people. It's horrible. And then to see them demonized, the way they were demonized, and all of that has been now disproven, is really a frightening trend in this country. In fact, it's reminiscent of Nazi Germany. And so we need to focus on that and have a historical perspective about how dangerous it is when you have these type relationships forming.
The news media fell for it big time, didn't they?
A lot of Americans fell for it. The news media was held back 2.5 miles. The only footage we got was a German news cam on a 24-foot platform on some ranch land from a far distance with a super zoom lens, and all we got was the very front. And incidentally, that probably saved Clive Doyle and David Thibodeau's lives, because the only people that survived were those that got out the front and side where the news cameras could actually get some footage. Everyone that was herded towards the back by the tanks that actually went inside died. And we now have the actual flare footage of the Delta Force and the hostage rescue teams shooting the people as they tried to exit.
Now, what do you folks need to complete this mission?
We need people to donate time and materials, and yes, if they want money, but we would prefer people just go buy the materials we need and then deliver them to central points as we're doing this morning. That's all we need is people's time and people's energy and people's heart, and we're going to be able to say to certain elements of the government, it's not the whole government, but certain elements of the government that would try to engage in a cover-up and a smear campaign, a witch hunt against American citizens, we would say to them that this is about standing up and saying the people of Central Texas, the people of America, are firmly against this type of behavior. Well, it's about freedom of religion, the free exercise thereof, and it's the Davidians have never changed their story, and the government has. And I've been studying it ever since it happened. And as time goes on, I began to realize this was basically a witch hunt. It was about getting more funding for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And what happened here was wrong. We've got an Air Force base over here. We've got a great observation tower over there. We've got a nice little undercover houses. They picked this place. It was a perfect area to basically ambush a group of innocent people and start initiating America into the modern police state.
let's talk about today.
Sure.
Let the church decide that. Kind of how did you get everything organized here, and who brought this all together? Kind of what's the plan for it?
Well, for years coming to the remembrances, we've talked about trying to do something for the Davidians, but it was all talk. And finally, myself and Mike Hansen said, look, let's just do it. I think we can get people behind it. I think there's enough people in Central Texas that care and realize what happened was wrong. And so we put it together. In fact, we started announcing it last Monday, and here we are on Sunday, as we said we would. And a lot of great people have shown up. More are on their way from Dallas and Fort Worth, and right here in Waco and Temple and Austin and all areas in between. And we're going to build this church back. I've talked to the Surviving Branch Davidians, and they concur with my idea to have it a church and at the same time a memorial and a museum for what happened right here on this very ground in 1993.
So is it safe to say that most of the people out here today are just people that are volunteers, or most of them Davidians? How many?
I believe there's only 4 Davidians out here today, Surviving Branch Davidians. Now, these are just concerned citizens from here in Texas and from all across America. People are hearing about this and saying that they're going to come for at least part of the construction. So this is mainly a volunteer effort, Central Texans showing the world that, hey, we think what happened here was wrong. These people's constitutional rights were violated. They were stamped as criminals and paraded before the press and basically demonized. And I don't even blame the press for that. It was the government. They held the media back 2.5 miles and then engaged in their demonization program. And we're here to say, hey, enough is enough. We're not going to talk and argue about this anymore. We're here to support these people and support America. That's what America's about.
What's the time frame in terms of what you guys doing today, and when?
Well, we have built another home for a veteran in Austin, Texas, Joe Campana, and we did that in 14 days, a city record, and that's fully furnished because the bulldozers were coming. They condemned his old home and the city wasn't going to help him. That took 14 days, but that was inside Austin, in the metropolitan area. Since we are outside Waco and Belmead, I conservatively say 3 months, but probably within a month and a half to 2 months, you'll have a fully completed church. We need to complete it that fast to keep our momentum up and get the job done properly.
Now, as far as the land dispute goes, I mean, they said it's okay to go ahead and build on this.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Clive Doyle's paid the back taxes. Clive Doyle, as you see, lives here on the property in his mobile home. And regardless of what ends up happening with the land, and I've talked to attorneys and others, and it's even been in the Waco Tribune, that basically once a church is built here, it'll just be up to the trustees of the church who basically owns the property. So it's even more of an, let's say, affirming whose property this is. And it's this property belongs to the Surviving Branch Davidians, and Clive Doyle's paid the back taxes. But regardless, we're building a memorial to what happened here, and I don't think anybody would ever want to tear it down. Hey, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Could you address any legal ramifications or legal advantages that you would have building a church here rather than, say, any other kind of...
Well, I've talked to attorneys, and I've actually read some of the reports, some of the published reports. Clive Doyle's already positioned. He has a renowned attorney, former Attorney General Ramsey Clark. He's paid the taxes, and regardless of who gets this property, this place will always be basically a battlefield museum almost. People are going to be coming out here probably forever wanting to understand what happened here. And so basically that's why we're here. We want to put a mark on history saying the people of Central Texas and America said, no, this is wrong what happened here, and we're not going to believe the propaganda. We're not going to believe the lies, and hopefully by leading by example, the media and others that are finally starting to wake up to what happened will also join us in trying to heal some of the wounds. Thank you.
Oh. Okay, here it is with a shovel.
When I looked and saw the people and how they're helping, I didn't think anybody had the guts to do it. But I'm finding out, and I know there are people outside that agree with us. They're just afraid to speak up.
Just in case you don't remember, let me jog your memory. In a church they called the Waco Compound, back in April '93. 17 little children, all so helpless and so small, died a senseless death of gas and flames. How many names can you recall? 17 little children, don't it make you wonder why? 17 little children, how could they deserve to die? Maybe we should stop and ask ourselves, have we become so blind? Will 17 little children finally open up your mind? How did you sleep last night, Bill Clinton? Tell me, did you feel their pain? As 17 little children cried out and perished in the flames. Attorney General Janet Reno, I accept your offer to resign. How can you stand for law and order now, when you won't answer to your crimes? 17 little children, all so helpless and so small. 17 little children, how many names can you recall? Maybe we should stop and ask ourselves, have we become so blind? Will 17 little children finally open up your mind? I've heard it said the Branch Davidians only got what they deserved, yet no one seems to know what laws were broken, what was in the warrant they never served. Yesterday I sold my TV set, stopped my subscription to the Times. To me it's plain to see the media was an accomplice to these crimes. 17 little children, don't it make you wonder why? 17 little children, how could they deserve to die? Maybe we should stop and ask ourselves, have we become so blind? Will 17 little children finally open up your mind? Open up your mind.
I love Miss Catherine. There she is. We're going to rebuild you a nice, beautiful church out here. There she is, Miss Sheila. How you doing?
Hi.
How you doing?
Proud of y'all.
Like
Oh, it's good. I'm glad. Over there by the back wheel of that pickup truck.
Hey, you burn it, we rebuild it. Volunteers of America.
We're going to have grasshoppers for dinner. Does anybody need any sunscreen?
I'll scan it in. I'll go to 1-hour photo. Although there was a guy here earlier, he's got a digital camera, and he said he's going to email me some of his photos. And I figure once people see the activity, they'll be.
Come on, I got to fix it. And Steve Lane swinging it.
Yeah.
As he always does. He's been involved in so many projects now.
I don't know about how many, but.
No breeze at all, folks. There's Keith helping cut the steel with the steel cutter. Tying the steel.
Trying to.
Well, they're doing a great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am.
We got crime overtaking our cities. We got gangs taking over our streets. We keep handing out more and more welfare, though it never seems to meet their needs.
Bend down, Alex. Stoop down.
I think this makes me mad how the guy does that.
Next summer, you won't have this.
Come on, son, sit down right here.
Get out of this.
How you shoot, son?
Everybody say Central Texas Resistance. Freedom fighter.
Got nothing that's on the paper.
I need Mike Hansen.
Why? I'm all messed up.
You mean they've got none of the materials we need? What about a Home Depot?
Oh, you mean,
Got a lot of folks out here today. A lot of folks are still working hard, a lot harder than I had. You guys make sure you don't have heat exhaustion. Drink lots of fluids. It feels good. Challenging the false reality. Not playing along with all their garbage. Put it in their face. Getting up off our butts. This is good, ladies and gentlemen. This is important. This is fantastic. God bless you all. We're going to build this thing.
Whoa. This man does it all.
Even the Lord will be in that number when we have reached that heavenly shore.
What do we do? This is before the concrete?
You say something.
That's Jeff Davis digging.
Is that Jeff Davis digging?
Jeff Davis.
How long has he been out here digging? An hour now.
Oh, you got the pig.
Oh, get out of the way. Jeff Davis got the pick. He's blue-eyed, you know. One eye blue left, the other one blue right.
It's been a while.
Get used to it.
Clear that off. Measure it here.
Get out of the way, Keith. Let it swing.
Yeah, right there. Oh, I thought he had a hernia.
He does. He better stop. He ain't got no hernia. What'd you find?
Okay, this is to a 44 Magnum,
Yep.
and
You can tell. You know all about guns? Heck yeah, you're a great American kid, ain't you?
and this is to a 9mm.
That's a 9mm shell?
Uh-huh.
You got some bullets there.
308.
Same man that did Joe Campano's house.
Very individual here team, at least as it's moving, you can always get back in there and ship it up.
What's going on, Jimmy?
Hi.
Hold on just a minute.
I already got you on there going like that, looking so pretty.
Hello, Alex.
Hello, Jimmy. Just got done eating some great food that's
My
out
friends call me Pokey, like slow Pokey.
I know, Pokey. How's it going?
It's going.
I appreciate your help out here on this project. As you can see, we're ahead of schedule. Pouring all the cement with 60-something holes we've dug, all the spec. We got the engineer.
60 holes, all the spec.
Yep.
There's my dump truck over there.
It is great. Great job.
That's my brother.
Great job, Ritter, for bringing all the concrete.
I'm saying hi to him. You're gonna let him see it, aren't you?
Okay.
Hi, Chief. Still being collectors.
Are you hot? Hey, there's one of Gene's ex-girlfriends over there already.
That's all right.
Hold on, Alex. We done lost this.
Oh, I know.
It's the ones of us that ain't the exes that count. How Mike Hansen had overheard us talking, and Mike come to me and said he wanted to learn. And Mike's taken off like a duck to water, and he and Alex are together, so. That's
All I know is we're getting this
about.
built. We're going to build it.
Huh?
We're going to build this place.
By the hand of God.
Month of
y'all will
Sundays,
build
but it might take a month of Sundays.
That's right.
That's right.
Might take 2 months
You
of
can call it hand
Sundays.
to God. You can call it whatever you want. I don't know what we're going to do.
All right, guys, where are you putting your name at?
This is my name at each corner.
What are we building?
A church. A church.
For who? What is this, Jesse? Mount Carmel?
Yes.
Not so big.
That camera he's got, Dad, he's got night vision. Take the film at night, too.
Hey, Josh, what are y'all using? Nails. Oh.
Go ahead, Josh. Put yours in there, too. There's some handprints.
And are we supposed to use our whole name?
Yeah, just your first name.
I'm McKenna. Just our first name?
Alex Jones, you burn it, we rebuild it.
I can't.
There it is right there. Look at there, folks. You burn it, we rebuild it. Right over the heart. Right over the heart.
Great job.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be dumping some dirt?
Okay, guys, don't jump. He's gonna bang the door. It's the fun part. Hey, Sonic Boom! I warned you.
Who's going to be here?
As far as I know, just me.
So that Ed Homan is a trooper. Wonder where that power point of it is. We're here talking to Ophelia Santoyo. She's a surviving Branch Davidian. We've gotten a chance to get to know her over the years out here, but she's really helped us, even in the first days when it was really hot out here, to pour the foundation and now get the church to where it's at. Ophelia, what do you think of the church rebuilding program?
I think it's wonderful. I really like the church. It looks so beautiful.
When you first heard about us talking about rebuilding it, did you think we'd really do it?
Yes, I never doubted it.
Wow. Because you knew Mike going way back, didn't you?
Yes.
The cameraman?
Yes.
Are you surprised that the government hasn't offered to help or hasn't done anything?
Oh, yes, I am.
You thought they would come out and help?
Right. Yes.
Why would you say that?
Because, well, you know, all the damage they've done to us. They destroy everything we had, and they destroy even our families and even ourselves, you know, because we have gone through a lot since then. My mother has been so sick since then. She's been so depressed, and she almost committed suicide. She was so depressed because of the loss of our family.
How many members of your family died?
6.
Who were they?
My only daughter and
what was her name?
Julie Martinez, and all her kids. There was 5 kids.
They had an opportunity to come out. Why did they decide to stay?
They were afraid. They were afraid to come out because you know what? We were looking at all the damage they were doing to us, and they were destroying everything, and so we were afraid to come out.
Well, I know a lot of people were afraid to come out. In fact, the federal government even admits, the military admits that the tactical teams on the ground during the siege, when they would tell people to come out and get some letters from their lawyers or letters from the government, and that they would throw flashbang grenades at them. Did you hear about that?
Yes.
You talk about damage. What type of damage were they doing with the tanks?
Well, they were destroying all our cars, and they were destroying all around the kids' motorcycles, all the toys, and you know, the kids used to have how do you call it?
Go-karts.
Yeah, go-karts and motorcycles, and a lot of toys, and they used to have you know, a sandbox where all the kids used to play. They destroyed that, and they destroyed all our gas tanks. They broke everything.
Clive Doyle and others have talked about them destroying all the cars.
Yeah, they destroyed all the cars, all our cars.
This is a right-wing dog, isn't it? You better send in the BATF. Well, that's horrible to hear that you lost 6 members of your family. When you watch the television news, are they telling the truth?
No, I don't think so. No, that most of them they don't say the truth. You know, and when people have interviews, they always try to twist things we say. That's the reason why I don't like to have interviews.
In fact, this is the first interview you've done, isn't it?
Yeah, I've done, you know, short talkings, you know.
And of course, you've been on my radio program.
Yeah, I think once.
Jack, the Mongol Beagle, is also being interviewed right now. Well, last question, Ophelia, and I appreciate you talking to us out here. Well, first, before I ask you that last question, what are you doing here?
Well, I'm trying to weed up all the trees for the memorial, April 19th.
And of course, that's to, I guess, remember what happened on April 19th, 93 with the BATF.
He is hard-nosed, he's hard-boiled, he's tender. His name is Alex Jones. What's amazing is that this man is only 26 years old. Considering what he has accomplished and demonstrated in building this church, I believe that by age 36, he could become the youngest president of the United States. Is Alex Jones.
Victory is ours against the New World Order,
against the communists and socialists and the bankers that run the whole filthy show. And now that they run the world, or at least the central hubs of power and the banking establishments and the dominant media, they plan to sack this country. Are you gonna let them? Feel your ancestors. These individuals, again, were testing you back in 93, testing you with the World Trade Center, with Waco, and then in 95 with Oklahoma, trying to scare you, run you off the cliff like a bunch of lemmings. But some Americans aren't lemmings. God bless you.
Alex and his cameraman, Mike Hansen, make underground videos in which they confront the people they feel are complicit in this great conspiracy.
Agent Littleton.
Yes.
Now, this is a classic thing. We saw this in the Nuremberg trials in '46 in Europe. We saw Germans, SS, and also regular army saying, oh, it was my commander and his commander and that commander, and I was just there doing my job. And then you say that you haven't seen Waco Rules of Engagement was up for an Academy Award. And it's not some footage they cooked up. It came out in the Senate hearings with Arnold Specter and others. So to sit there and to say that you haven't seen the footage, even the third generation, it's very obvious. They have one of the inventors of flare technology who works for the Pentagon, they're saying, well, this is automatic weapons fired, and then they lay a schematic down and show where all the machine gun nests were, and it shows 60 Minutes wouldn't air a report that Introspection, that does work for the ATF, who did a study and said, yes, this shows people exiting and entering the building, firing automatic weapons. You see an incendiary device, several of them being fired in. Some of those rounds were actually found, those incendiary grenades. And I understand that the ATF needs more funding for Comrade Clinton and the Clintonistas. We understand this. And we understand that we have the footage of y'all loading up the cameras and going out to kill a bunch of kooks. And I'm sad that your agents, some of your agents got injured and killed. And I'm not going to sit around and make threats. When it comes time for me to leave my parents and my girlfriend and my life, I will for my country. And I really don't want to die because I really don't want to die because I love this country, but if I have to die for my country, I will. And I think I see that little gleam in your eye. You would almost laugh when you would say, I can't talk about that, or I have no idea about that. Okay. You, sir, look like a gangster. You look like a criminal. Well, you reek of it, sir.
We didn't bring him here to condemn.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. Well, yeah.
Don't do anything personal.
No, it's not personal.
It is personal.
It's the huge.
Just keep it to the facts.
It's the huge steel fist. This is why I don't come here. I never will come again. But this is what it comes down to. I had to come and talk to you and tell you that I've read the Constitution. I know what's going on in the country. I know about Rex 84. I know about FEMA. I've been around at the national parks. I've seen the executive orders. I know what's going on in this country. From Oklahoma City, the World Trade Center bombing, the October 29th, New York Times 28th even admits it, got a copy of it in my car, that the BATF and the FBI helped the terrorists cook the bombs. Andre Strassmeyer, the Air and Republican Army, Carol Howe warned the FBI and the BATF. And it doesn't matter. Y'all stir up these hornets' nests to have media events to scare the sheep. And frankly, it's sick and it's sad. And it is the nature of power. That's all you are, is a Roman centurion and all the rest of your type. And I know there's a lot of good people that have left your agencies and have left all the apparatus of control. I want to know why you haven't seen Waco Rules of Engagement and why you won't comment. And you said you were 1,100 yards away from the back of the building where all the automatic weapons fire was coming from. You saw it. Sir, there's footage of it. There's tape of it. You want me to give you one of the tapes?
Yeah, I have to.
Perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps you're not a criminal.
Alex, let him
Perhaps you're just power hungry.
No. Let him respond. I have to say there was no automatic weapon fire coming from the back of the building. I'd like to see the tapes. I haven't seen those.
Well, they got them at the video store. Or why don't you call C-SPAN and get a copy from them?
Okay, I'll do that.
They aired it on TV, and that's how controlled our press is.
Okay.
You scare me. Seeing our local police training with you guys with black ski masks, and we've gone up from 390,000 police officers to 490,000 police officers, and they're building helicopter bases here in Travis County. Damn it! We've been sucked off for so long. We pay 62% in some form of tax. We just wallow around and beg like a bunch of little pigs at your feet, and it isn't good enough because you're insecure, and deep down inside you can make the rationales all day. we're self-righteous, we're doing what's right, I'm nonviolent to the end, defending my country from what's coming. And we see it building up, we see it preparing, while President Clinton wallows over in China. So to you, you have no soul if you do not come to grips with what really happened in Waco, because you obviously won't even comment on all the missing evidence and on everything else that is happening. The front door to the flare footage, and then to Oklahoma City with the seismographs and General Parton. It's so much. There's so much going on. So much evil, so much tyranny, so much barbarism. What do you think when you walk into your office and there's all these little fleets of minions? It's sad to me. They need to go work for the mob or something. At least there, you know, they can sleep with themselves at night. They're not acting like they're not criminals.
To reiterate David's words on one of the negotiation tapes, he was very sad that there were agents that were killed. He was sad there were agents that were wounded. And I feel the same way. But if we can honestly look at stories that are told, we have to admit that the government's story is not all the truth there is. It's a one-sided view. They may be, many of them, many agents that were there that have their side of the story that they firmly believe in. And there are survivors who have their side. We have every reason to be angry. Like yourself, you lost friends. Somewhere in between, there's a balance of truth. Not just our side and not just your side. Depending on where you were, what you saw, what you heard, what you experienced, is where your prejudices are. We hold no malice toward the ATF. Or the FBI. But we find it very hard to believe them and to trust them. Because if they were so right in the stand that they took and in the way they performed their task, they would not need the lies and the covering up and the losing of evidence and the delaying in the courts. They would be more than happy to have the truth come out. May not be your fault that the door's missing. May not be your fault that there were shots fired from the helicopters. But I think, in all honesty, as a human being, you've been long enough in the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms to have seen a lot of things that were wrong. Nobody climbs any corporate ladder without sacrificing principles. I don't care whether it's a business or a government agency or a law enforcement or even in a church. We see all kinds of things go on that are wrong, and there are those who turn their back on what is wrong in order to succeed, in order to get their benefits, their retirement, see their kids put through school or whatever their excuses and their reasons are. The ATF is not without fault, the FBI is not without fault, and I am not without fault. David's great concern was for the safety of not only the people inside the building, but those on the outside of the building on February 28th. It did not have to happen that way. The truth of the matter is very plain. David could have been approached prior to February 28th. He could have been approached on February 28th in a peaceable manner, and all this could have been avoided. You may feel justified in firing because you were trying to protect your officers. The people on the inside that did fire probably feel justified in responding to protect the women and children and perhaps their own lives. Volatile situation. I'm sure there was fear and panic and all kinds of feelings on both sides on February 28th. If we were a bunch of crazies that just wanted you all dead, you'd have been all dead. There was no ambush, 50 or 60 people standing at all the windows with machine guns and bazookas ready to blow you away, or you would not have any ATF agents walk away after 2.5 hours, even if you still had some ammunition. That was not our intent. It was not our intent that there should be any shooting. And we were made to pay for defending ourselves for 51 days by another agency, which I understand you're going to absolve yourself from, being the FBI, who also justify everything they did, the torture and the lying, because they feel we brought it on ourselves. We refused to come out. Like you said, those reports show wrongdoing in the ATF. They show wrongdoing in the FBI. I don't believe myself that a court case in front of a jury where all the evidence could be brought out would be a terrible thing. We've asked for that, and the government, be it the BATF or the FBI, are stalling for all they're worth because they don't want it to go to trial. As in the case of Lon Horiuchi, who feels he is justified in being protected by his position in the agency for shooting Vicki Weaver. He doesn't feel he should go on trial. He should be exempt. Maybe you feel the same way for some of the officers involved in Waco. But if the truth's ever going to come out, then it needs to be allowed to come out. And it needs to be, all the evidence needs to be put out on the table for not just the jury and the courts to look at, but for the whole American people. We cannot just tell our side, and you cannot tell just your side and come to the truth, because we're both biased. I hope that in the months and years, whatever remain for us all to go through, that somehow there can be some kind of reconciling, some kind of acknowledgement, and above all, I believe what would have pleased David the most would be that those that were party to the raid and to the siege that followed could somehow ultimately learn the truth that David tried to put across and to have a part in his kingdom. That was all he was interested in, was the saving of souls. Regardless of what you may think of him, his lifestyle or his teachings, or what took place for 51 days. David was very concerned for souls. And that's what we're about. And we would love to see you all saved. I don't want revenge. I don't want to see any more people killed on either side. But unless we're willing to be honest with one another and face up to the things that we as a government perpetrate and do, and take a stand about whether it's right or wrong or not, based on the facts and not on our loyalty to our agency or whatever, then we will have other Wacos. We will have other situations where people will feel justified in resisting abuse of power or a violent entry on some pretext. Let me just say in closing that I am sorry.
Could we begin some of that reconciliation by having you shake Don's Squire's hands, please? Thank you. Thank both of you guys for being here.
It's not easy to stand in front of a jury of your peers, which we are right now, sir. We are judging you, and we are judging the group for whom you work, with whom you work. I heard you say early on that in your opinion, the people at Waco got what they deserved. Did you say that?
I could have, yes.
I think that for you, one human being, for all these, you want to comment on it?
Yes. If I said they got what they deserve, what I meant was they caused it themselves. Did I say that?
They brought it themselves.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
Reno did. I'm just.
Reno said, maybe it was Reno who said, but whether they brought it on themselves or not,
Okay.
you have children that were killed by their very own government. And that's you. And I am absolutely, I have not been this upset for years, because I want to know, what does it feel to work for one of the most hated groups in this country other than the IRS?
It means the people all sleep as foreign powers take control. Right behind all our backs, traitors plan their attacks on the laws of our land and commandments of our Lord. If we wake up today, we might still find a way to shake free from these chains and restore liberty. So wake up and rise up, all Americans across the nation, and throw down this tyranny and arise this flag again. Just in case you don't remember, let me jog your memory. In a church they called the Waco Compound, back in April '93, 17 little children, all so helpless and so small, died a senseless death of gas and flames. How many names can you recall? 17 little children. Don't it make you wonder why? and ask ourselves.
Okay, we're right here at the front door of the new rebuilt church memorial for the surviving Branch Davidians in memory of all those that were murdered here. Next to me right here is another memory. George Pulliam was the engineer and architect that drew all the plans and engineering schemes and everything for here, and passed away of cancer in 2005. A man I knew well, a man of character, class, and integrity, and left a widow and 2 daughters, and then a whole bunch of us volunteers also went to help out his widow, put a roof on her house and paint the house, and
here's the church.
Try and help her out. George Pulliam passed away February 5th, 2005.
I'm Catherine Madison, and I especially want to thank everyone who contributed to the building out on Mount Carmel. I haven't gotten to send everyone a thank you note. The rate I'm going, I may never. But I do thank you, and I am very appreciative of what you've all done. I know that it never would have even started with all you people that came in and took over and made it work.
This is what I live for. Yeah, yeah. Long live the Constitution! God bless America, and death to the New World Order! We shall, we must, and we will prevail, because we're willing to stand up against what's happening. God bless the Republic and the United States, and death to the New World Order! Yeah! All right! Yeah!
Little children, all so helpless and so small. 17 little children, how many names can you recall? Maybe we should stop and ask ourselves, if we become so blind, will 17 little children finally open up your mind? I've heard it said the Branch Davidians only got what they deserved, yet no one seems to know what laws were broken, what was in the warrant they never served. Yesterday I sold my TV set, stopped my subscription to the Times. To me it's plain to see the media was an accomplice to these crimes. 17 little children, don't it make you wonder why? 17 little children, how could they deserve